Yo legends! Welcome back to the channel. Grab your headphones and lock in, because today's story is on another level. Want the next chapter? Drop a comment below, and if the legend continues, I'm bringing it straight to you. Disclaimer: I do not claim ownership of this story. All rights belong to the original creators. Note: I'm constantly tweaking the settings to make it as immersive as possible. Across the Infinite, a Kryptonian's Odyssey. Chapter 1: I became a Kryptonian. Lucifer felt lucky. With so many people in the world, it was finally his turn to travel through time. And it was not just an ordinary travel through time, but he was chosen by God to travel through time. Then he became a Kryptonian. Fortunately, he did not draw a slime or a slug to start the game. Otherwise, Lucifer felt that he might want to commit suicide. Lucifer, a native of the Celestial Empire on Earth, surnamed Lu and given name Lucifer. Now he has become a chosen child, no, a chosen adult. God was very kind and said that Lucifer could travel through the world at will, and he was only level 1 at the beginning. You can level up by killing monsters. As for what is a monster, it depends on Lucifer's own definition. Anyway, as long as it is a powerful monster, you can level up after killing it, and by the way, the upper limit of this level is infinite. The Superman who surpasses the multiverse level is just around the corner. Then Lucifer traveled to a place like a different world, but he did not see elves and orcs, and he didn't know where this place was for a while. After all, God said that he would only travel to the world he was familiar with, including movies, TV series, animation, comics, and even novels. Fortunately, the sun in this world is yellow. Lucifer himself only got the template of the Kryptonian, so he doesn't have the Kryptonian genes. The yellow sun will not make him stronger, but will only charge him, that is, add a quick recovery state. And he is also restrained by kryptonite and the red sun. If he wants to become stronger and improve his resistance, there is only one way, which is to upgrade. But Lucifer thinks that compared to Superman, who has to sleep in the sun for tens of thousands of years before he can become a multiverse-level god, he can upgrade infinitely, and the time he spends is definitely much less than Superman. The Empire is going to recruit soldiers to deal with the northern aliens. I heard that the treatment of soldiers is good. Lucifer heard the passers-by next to him discussing the recruitment. He is only level 1 now, and his super brain is not that powerful, but it is not difficult to learn another language. Northern aliens? It sounds familiar. Lucifer began to think and search his memory, and then found the answer. The northern aliens and red eyes. I didn't expect to travel to this world. Lucifer was a little excited. The main reason was that although this world was warm, healing, worth watching, and regretful for others, Lucifer had no feelings about the girls who died in it. He was only interested in Esdeath. The protagonists were more like a group of people who were fooled and sent to die. After all, the northern foreign races had invaded the border of the Empire for so many years, killing countless innocent people, and even the race of Esdeath was destroyed. As a result, the Revolutionary Army wanted to lead the northern foreign races to destroy the Empire. This kind of collusion with foreign races can only be said that the cultural level of the protagonists is too low. Even Naruto, who was a general, can be so naive. Those who are not of my race must have different hearts. The background setting is about 1,000 years ago. In order to maintain long-term rule, the founding emperor of the empire raised unimaginable financial resources and power, and summoned the world's top craftsmen, using legendary super-dangerous species as materials, rare metals such as Ohari steel, and a large number of lost secrets, to develop 48 weapons that cannot be replicated, and called them Imperial tools. Lucifer does not intend to join the army. As a Kryptonian, even if he is a templated Kryptonian, Lucifer also has all kinds of superpowers that Kryptonians should have, and he is not weak in calculation, so he plans to go directly to the minister, the fat man. What surprised Lucifer was that he seemed to have traveled a little early, and the little emperor was not yet an emperor. His parents were still alive and were not killed by Ernest, but this was not bad. Who is it? General Bud quickly appeared and intercepted Lucifer when Lucifer fell from the sky in front of the Emperor. Although His Majesty the Emperor was frightened, he quickly regained his composure. "Your Majesty, I'm here to join the Empire," Lucifer said bluntly. Just for Esdeath, he would join the Empire. On the one hand, it was to save trouble. As long as he became a high-ranking official in the Empire, Lucifer would not have to worry about other things and could concentrate on killing monsters and upgrading. He needs to eat, sleep, and have fun. It is impossible for him to only kill monsters and upgrade. On the other hand, it was for Esdeath. He originally wanted to deal with a fat man Ernest, or simply kill him and replace him. As a result, the Emperor was still there, which made it much easier. Join the Empire. You are not an Imperial man? The Emperor heard what Lucifer meant, and General Bud said nothing. His duty was only to protect the safety of the royal family. He was even very loyal and would not care about other things that were not his business. This allowed Ernest to harm the loyal people at will. That's right, I come from the Empire in the Far East. I am the strongest warrior there. Lucifer knew that he was killing. There are other countries in the world of Scarlet Eyes, and there are many areas that the Empire has not explored. It seems that the water is very deep. The strongest warrior. Then why did you leave your country and join the Empire? The Emperor asked puzzledly. The Emperor was said to be a benevolent and kind emperor who loved his people in the background of the original plot, so it was incomprehensible why someone would leave his country. I was persecuted, and a treacherous minister framed me. I didn't want to kill people from my own country, so I chose to leave. Lucifer knew the other party's personality, so it was easy for him to deal with it. The Emperor nodded slightly. Joining the Empire, you don't want a simple identity, right? Of course not. I have learned about the current situation of the Empire. I can eliminate the northern ethnic groups for the Empire as long as I become a general. Lucifer said confidently, of course. He also knew that the Emperor would not trust him so easily unless the other party was a little emperor who was easy to fool. Northern ethnic groups, the Emperor frowned. This is indeed a headache for him, repeatedly violating the border and harming the people of the Empire on the border, but the Empire has no way to deal with them. Before Esdeath appeared, the Empire had no way to deal with the northern ethnic groups. The Imperial soldiers, who were accustomed to the warm climate in the south, were no match for the northern ethnic groups in the cold and freezing weather, even if their numbers far exceeded those of the northern ethnic groups. Of course, the southern tribes also tied up a lot of the Empire's energy. Later, this tribe was also destroyed by Esdeath. At that time, Esdeath had not yet obtained the Imperial weapon. Chapter 2. The Strongest Warrior with Many Mistakes. I can't possibly believe you just because of your words, His Majesty the Emperor said hesitantly. This is normal. No one with a qualified IQ can be fooled by words, let alone an emperor who is in a high position. General Bude is also not optimistic about how capable Lucifer, an outsider, can be. After all, who knows whether what he said is true or false, whether he left after being framed, or whether he was kicked out, who knows? Of course I can't lead troops in war, I said. I am the strongest warrior in my country, strong enough to fight 1 against 10,000. Lucifer did not brag that he was a foreign general or anything. People need to be self-aware. It is impossible to say that they understand the art of war just because they have read Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Romance of the Sui and Tang Dynasties, Chronicles of the Three Kingdoms, Spring and Autumn Hegemony, Qin Shi Ming Yu, and 9 Songs of Heaven at that time. Just getting started and leading troops will cause a lot of problems, and others will know at a glance that you are not a professional. On the contrary, with 1 enemy against 10,000, Lucifer felt that it was not difficult at all. A level 1 Kryptonian was also a Kryptonian, and the sun gave him a steady stream of energy, so it was not difficult at all to kill 10,000 people. The Emperor suddenly raised his eyebrows. 1 against 10,000? The General Bude next to my Emperor is the strongest man in the Empire. He and his Tegu, Thunder God Rathid Melech, are enough to rival thousands of armies. Are you confident to give it a try? His Majesty the Emperor is still kind and reserved in his words. As long as Lucifer gives in, he won't care. General Bude also stood up cooperatively, with thunder and lightning flashing in his hand. What is a tegu? Lucifer was silent for a moment and then asked. He was not sure whether he could beat General Bude, so he pretended not to know about the tegu. In this way, if he couldn't beat him, he could also say that there was no such thing as the tegu in his country, so it was normal that he couldn't beat him. However, during the battle, General Bude, as a warrior, should be able to experience the power of the Kryptonians and give an objective evaluation. The tegu is before the Emperor spoke, General Bude explained himself. It was normal for foreigners not to know the tegu. Even if some of the tegu were lost to places like the Western Kingdom is not a Western nation, it was normal for foreigners to know the tegu. The possibility is very small because the number itself is not large, and most of the 48 Imperial equipment are still in the Empire. Is it this kind of magical thing? I've never seen it before, but just think of it as a battle against a super dangerous species. Lucifer nodded and said, That's right. The tegu itself is equivalent to the super dangerous species itself. It's just that some people are strong enough to exert the full power of the tegu and even become stronger. Some people can even reach the limit of the tegu. Less than General Bude said calmly. Probably Brand, who used the power of the evil spirit to the fullest and was able to kill hundreds of people. Lucifer nodded secretly. General Bude and Esdeath were among the very few who could strengthen the power of the tegu again, surpassing the power of the tegu itself. Even super dangerous species could be killed at will. I don't know if Red Eyes counts as Lucifer, but Mayan's dying moment should also count, as well as Lightning and Susanoo. Come on, General Bude, Lucifer said to him. General Bude looked at Lucifer and felt that he seemed unfamiliar. Is this guy really good at fighting? Forget it, just kill him with one punch. Unlike General Bude, His Majesty the Emperor could see Lucifer's reality at a glance. He saw that Lucifer dared to challenge General Bude after seeing him display the power of thunder and lightning, thinking that he was also a strong man. I believe a little bit of Lucifer's words. After His Majesty the Emperor announced the start, General Bude crossed the distance between the two people without saying a word at a speed that was too fast to be seen by the naked eye, appeared in front of Lucifer, and then punched him. Lucifer's pupils shrank. He saw General Bude's movement and his punch, so he followed suit. When General Bude saw that Lucifer had kept up with his speed, he immediately punched out without any reservation. Boom! The ground exploded and the shock wave knocked the surrounding guards and maids to the ground. His Majesty the Emperor managed to sit firmly against the armrests of the throne. Then I saw General Bude and Lucifer fighting each other with their fists. What a hard punch! Lucifer clicked his tongue. General Bude was a little surprised. He could see that Lucifer's punching posture, action structure, and stance were all wrong in all aspects that were very important for the battle. But he received a punch from himself who had experienced many battles. You must know that this punch is unreserved. Without using the tegu, General Bude can crush boulders with one punch. May I have your name? General Bude retracted his fist and asked. Lucifer. Lucifer said his name. Luxy, strange name. General Bude frowned. Next, I have to get serious, because you are an enemy who can let me use the tegu. Do you want to continue? General Bude asked certainly. Lucifer said. He realized that with the punch he just punched Todoroki, he just felt as if his fist had touched a large piece of sponge that was flying towards him at a rapid speed. After all, although he is only a level 1 Kryptonian, his superpowers have been fully awakened. The double protection of Bug's biological force field and the iron body makes Lucifer's physical resistance ridiculously high. Your Majesty, please leave here, General Bud said respectfully to the Emperor. No need, Bud, the Emperor suddenly said. General Bud didn't understand. I believe him. After all, there are not many people in the Empire who can catch your punch, the Emperor said. But General Bud wanted to say that Lucifer was very suspicious. This guy is not good at fighting at all. How can he be the strongest warrior? No need to say more, Luxie, right? The Emperor looked at Lucifer. Your Majesty, it's Lulu, Lizard's Eye, Fofa, Lucifer. Lucifer corrected him after hearing this. When the Emperor heard him say this, he was stunned for a moment and then laughed. Okay, Lucifer, can you really solve the northern foreign ethnic groups for the Empire? Lucifer paused. Okay. He hesitated because he had never killed anyone before and didn't know if he could actually do it. Moreover, if he did it, he would be the second by Kai. How many troops do you need? The Emperor asked. At least 100,000 people, because they are needed to clean up the battlefield. Lucifer said immediately. Chapter 3, Expedition. Okay, then I'll give you 100,000 soldiers. I have only one request. That is, even if we can't completely eliminate the northern ethnic groups, at least we must make them unable to continue to invade the Empire. The Emperor nodded and agreed directly. He still left room for Lucifer, as long as Lucifer could make the northern ethnic groups unable to invade the Empire. He felt that the possibility of completely eliminating this was too small. Lucifer naturally would not fail to understand the Emperor's meaning, and felt that this Emperor was really a good Emperor, speaking with room for people everywhere. Yes, Lucifer naturally would not be ungrateful. General Bud frowned, always feeling that it seemed not very appropriate. But his family had served the royal family for generations, and adhered to the blind loyalty that soldiers could not get involved in politics, so he did not continue to say anything. Lucifer's appointment was soon made. Lucifer became the new general and would lead 100,000 troops to attack the northern ethnic groups. I don't know if I can meet the brave warrior Numa Seka of the north. Lucifer changed into the general's uniform, and his temperament looked different. He has a body that can support the uniform. He has been working out for many years. Although he has not become a big guy, he has all the necessary muscles. He does not look skinny and is tall. Then he put on the same military cap as Esdeath. The Empire asked him what weapons he needed. Lucifer thought about it. Although he could kill people with his fists and feet, and he also had attack methods such as heat vision and freezing breath, it seemed that using weapons would be good. At least it would be cleaner. The weapons that can be used by the general are naturally not ordinary iron tools, but are forged with the material of the Imperial equipment or a chalcum. Except for the super dangerous materials without the Imperial equipment, there is no difference in hardness and sharpness with the Imperial equipment. This is also the reason why Esdeath can use the sword to fight against Suzanu's Aim no Kurasakumo sword. Before the Imperial equipment was made, the powerful Empire relied on the army and such weapons and strong men to defeat those super dangerous species, and then the Imperial equipment was created. Lucifer also unexpectedly met Nechiton. She is not a general yet, and she is following Lucifer to carry out missions. The long-haired version of Nechiton, and she looks very young. Lucifer found that after the real person, Nechiton was incredibly beautiful. After all, she was originally a flawless paper man. After the real person, her skin was simply envied by all women. The army needs to prepare for an expedition to the northern foreign nations, so it will take some time. It is not so fast to set off immediately. Lucifer also took this time to learn about the current empire. Minister Ernest, the fat man, has already shown his head, but it is naturally not such an important position as a minister now. There is no little emperor among the emperor's descendants, and he may not have been born yet. Or he has been born, but it has not been announced yet. There are currently several princes and princesses, but they are just background boards. In the original plot, after the emperor was killed by Ernest, the royal family fought for the throne. Ernest helped the little emperor win the fight and became the emperor. It can be regarded as an alien version of holding the emperor hostage to control the princes. Then, Lucifer found Esdeath. Lucifer originally thought it was unlikely to find Esdeath. After all, Esdeath seemed to have been a gladiator for a while, but he didn't expect to find him. But after finding him, Lucifer could only watch. He was not really a general of the Empire now. He had to win this battle to be considered a real general of the Empire, so he couldn't exercise some privileges. "General Lucifer, we are ready," Lucifer's adjutant said to him. "Very good. The northern aliens have now invaded most of the northern border of the Empire. We have to act immediately." Lucifer pulled the brim of his military cap and continued. "It is worth complaining that the Empire already has all kinds of guns and even mechanical Gundam technology, but it has no vehicles that can transport troops on a large scale, which means that after something goes wrong, it can only rely on the speed of the army's movement. This is the reason why a country was restricted from expanding its territory in ancient times, but the Empire, which is full of magic and science fiction, is also like this, which is very speechless. Even if there is no mechanical power vehicle and it cannot be researched, can't we catch some dangerous species for transportation?" Lucifer was full of interest at first, but soon became bored. However, after leaving the Imperial capital, he finally encountered something interesting. That is the attack of dangerous species. There are as many dangerous species in this world as wild beasts. There will be a soil dragon on the road where people often pass by, but trained humans can easily kill these dangerous species. Of course, powerful dangerous species need to be dealt with by Imperial equipment users or people with the strength of Imperial equipment users. Lucifer does not need soldiers to take action every time, but goes out personally, on the one hand to kill monsters and become stronger, and on the other hand to gather the morale of the army. Why were Lu Bu and Xiang Yu able to win so many wars with fewer people? Isn't it because their personal bravery and strong military force gave their troops enough confidence? The spirit is very important. The Han dynasty was able to fight one Han against 5 Hu. Is it really because the physical fitness of the Han people is better than that of the Hu people? Of course not. That's because of the spirit. The Hu people were beaten by Emperor Wu of Han and were instinctively afraid of the Han people when they met them. The Han people instinctively felt that they were stronger than them, and they would never lose or be defeated no matter how they fought. They even dared to charge with 10 times less troops. Lucifer disappeared in an instant, and when he appeared again, the dozens of dangerous species that appeared had all been cut in half. The weapon made by the Empire for Lucifer was a broadsword, which was Lucifer's own request. In the case of high-speed movement, the power of the rapier or the long sword is not much improved. These two weapons are used for stabbing. If it is a heavy sword like Guts in Berserk, it is better to use a thick-backed broadsword. Because if it is in the case of high-speed movement, as long as the speed is enough, the broadsword does not matter even if it is not sharpened, and it can completely cut off any enemy. Lucifer originally wanted to use thermal vision to deal with the dangerous species, but the thermal vision of the level 1 Kryptonian was so weak that it could only be used to light a fire, and it could only be used to ignite the dangerous species continuously, so he had to use weapons. After a few times, Lucifer fell in love with this extremely violent fighting style. With one strike, the dangerous creature was neatly cut in half. Blood would not spurt everywhere. "Great, General Lucifer," Lucifer's adjutant and soldiers said excitedly. Chapter 4, First Battle Victory. The army all worships the strong, otherwise there would be no fighting generals and the loss of the fighting generals would affect morale. These days, Lucifer, who became a general by air, has changed all the soldiers' views on him. He is a strong man. No matter what kind of danger it is, it can be dealt with one blow, and it is so powerful that it is unimaginable. Keep going. Lucifer was expressionless, but he actually felt pretty good inside. He has also been upgraded to level 2 and feels much stronger than before. At least if General Bu doesn't use the Tegu now, Lucifer can defeat him with one blow. After all, it is a Kryptonian template. When placed in the game, it is born with a hero unit. The bonus is naturally much higher than that of a minion. Upgrading to a level may give bonus attributes equivalent to the 10th or even 20th level of a minion. Empire, Northern Territory. In the extremely cold area, there are still many people from the Empire living here, such as Esdeath's former ethnic tribes, which are now being invaded by foreign tribes from the north. Before the rise of Esdeath, no effective barrier had been established here. Even the city walls were only built later. For the foreign peoples in the north, this was an area where they could come and go freely, and the Empire could only stationed at the northern border. It is not so cold there and the soldiers will not completely lose their combat effectiveness. Now, Lucifer has entered here with an army of 100,000 people. Imperial soldiers accustomed to warm climates experienced attrition even before the war started in the far north. Severe frostbite and severe colds are life-threatening consequences. It's so outrageous. Lucifer was speechless. Fortunately, he didn't expect these soldiers to participate in the battle. He just wanted them to help clean the battlefield. The Empire's medical conditions are well developed, and the current person in power is not a little emperor, so there are not many casualties among soldiers. Because of the existence of the Tegu, the Empire does not pay much attention to hot weapons, so today's wars are still a collision of cold weapons. After all, each Tegu user can kill hundreds of people or even match thousands of troops. The number of people in front of the Tegu user doesn't make much sense. Then Lucifer and the others encountered a foreign race from the north who was plundering the local people, men, women, and children. The women among them were captured and the rest were killed. This group of people didn't even feel scared when the Imperial army appeared. The main reason was that they had fought against the Empire so many times. Don't they still know the level of the Imperial army? As long as there is no Tegu user, they have nothing to fear. Even if there is the Tegu user, they can just run away. The Tegu user can't chase and kill many people. Moreover, the northern border is so big. How many places can the Tegu user stay in to defend against it? Not to mention the importance of the Tegu user. The foreign ethnic groups in the north were able to obtain the Tegu because the Tegu user was tricked and killed here, and the Tegu was also taken away. You really deserve to be killed. Lucifer originally wondered whether he could kill people like he did to dangerous species, but after seeing the scene in front of him, he no longer had any worries. PFFD. A foreign race that was chasing an old man suddenly split into two parts, including its man and horse. Then there were several foreign races that were tearing a woman's clothes off, and their upper and lower bodies were separated. It was as if there were invisible sharp blades massacring foreign nations. This is actually the result of the biological force field. When Lucifer bursts out at unimaginable speeds, it will not cause a sound barrier or a heat barrier. Otherwise, Lucifer would burst out at such a high speed and just pass by others. It can tear people apart. After getting rid of the foreign ethnic groups that were entangled with the local ethnic groups, Lucifer showed up. General Lucifer. The Imperial army has become accustomed to Lucifer's terrifying speed. The remaining foreign ethnic groups in the north cursed and turned around and wanted to run away. It's really unlucky that I met the Tegu user. Run quickly or you will be killed later. Let's move to another place to avoid being caught up. Lucifer was not in a hurry. After they ran a certain distance, he opened his mouth and took a big mouthful of cold air and then blew it out. Freeze breath. Superman's signature skill can even ignore the laws of physics and directly blow out a star. Of course, Lucifer doesn't have that kind of ability now, but this is the icy and snowy north. His freezing breath will only become more powerful. The sky is dark and the ground is dark, flying sand and rocks. Between the gloomy sky and the earth, the sudden drop in temperature caused everything to be covered with a thick layer of ice. Wave after wave of biting cold wind blew down like knives, easily killing the rows of northern aliens like matches. So stubborn. Frost visible to the naked eye spread across the ground and soon it rose high to form a vast ice field. The northern aliens who were the targets of the attack were pressed to the ground by the cold wind that froze their bones. The surface of their bodies was frozen with ice. They stood still and emitted the slightest bit of cold air. Thick crystal icicles connected their bodies to the ground. One breath can solve nearly 10,000 people. If it weren't for the ability to strengthen freezing breath here, Lucifer wouldn't be able to do it. Lucifer's men were naturally stunned. "What are you still doing? Let's raise a bonfire and clean the battlefield," Lucifer said to them. "As for the life and death of the foreign peoples in the north, their blood has turned into ice crystals and damaged their blood vessels. Even if the ice melts, they will not be able to survive." And after killing so many people at once, Lucifer successfully upgraded to level 3. Little things add up, and there seems to be no experience penalty for this thing. How much experience does a monster have? Even if Lucifer upgrades later, he still has that much experience. This allows Lucifer to not let go of anything that may become a monster, accumulate a little to make a lot, gather sand to form a tower, cut wood with ropes, and penetrate rocks with drops of water. If you want to become stronger, you can't let go of any experience. In such a harsh place, if there weren't dangerous species with plenty of meat, they probably wouldn't be able to survive. Lucifer rode his horse in a circle. With the biological force field, his mount would not feel the cold, unlike other horses that were half frozen to death. There is no way to grow anything here, which encourages the local people to make a living by hunting, just like the nomads. Fortunately, there are enough dangerous species and they grow large enough, and there are also many weak, dangerous species. With the size of the dangerous species, one head can meet the daily needs of a tribe of several hundred people. Report back today on the annihilation of tens of thousands of foreign races. Lucifer told his adjutant that this was a great encouragement. For the first time on this land, the Empire had achieved 0 for 10,000 results with the foreign nations in the north. It also proved that what Lucifer said was true. He could solve the foreign ethnic groups in the north. Yes, General Lucifer. Now the adjutant looked at Lucifer with enthusiasm. Chapter 5, Chasing the Dead to the North. Your Majesty, General Lucifer won the first battle and killed more than 10,000 enemies. In the Empire, His Majesty the Emperor is having a meeting, but there is no such thing as a court meeting. The Emperor loves the people like his own son, and often summons officials from all walks of life for meetings due to various people's livelihood issues. At this time, a guard came in quickly and said excitedly, "What?" His Majesty the Emperor immediately stood up, shocked by the news. Although he also has expectations, he is still more uneasy. He doesn't know how many of the 100,000 soldiers sent this time will come back. If they can't come back, what will their families do? Even the issue of pensions has just been discussed. I didn't expect there would be results now. What are the casualties of our troops? His Majesty the Emperor then asked the question that concerned him most. Only more than 100 of our troops were injured, and no one died. The injuries of more than 100 people were due to the cold, not battle damage. Okay. His Majesty the Emperor was extremely excited. You must know that even the Imperial guards could not annihilate more than 10,000 enemies in one battle. This was beyond the imagination of the Emperor and officials. Even the generals were dumbfounded and doubted the authenticity of the intelligence. But then the intelligence said that because of transportation difficulties, the corpse was not considered for transportation, but the Empire had advanced things like cameras, so Lucifer had a Jinguan piled up. It was horrifying to watch, but His Majesty the Emperor just couldn't bear it and accepted it, especially since it could be seen that it was not killing good people to take credit, nor was it looking for old, weak women and children of foreign races to prop up the scene. All of them were the corpses of adult men. There were tens of thousands, if not more than 10,000. With so many corpses, it was clear that Lucifer was not lying. After the Empire received the news, Lucifer had crossed the northern border and entered the territory of the foreign nations in the north. Along the way, the number of northern aliens who died at Lucifer's hands has exceeded the number reported to the Empire several times, and the 100,000-strong army began to be somewhat short of manpower. Because the deeper you go, the colder it becomes. It's hard to imagine how Esdeath and her army stayed in such a ghost place for so long. Anyway, everyone in the army brought by Lucifer has been frostbitten. The foreign nations in the north also learned about the emergence of a powerful general and Tegu user in the Empire. Lucifer's freezing breath and heat vision do look very much like the abilities of the Tegu user. The key is that this guy is too lazy. Every time he takes a breath, he dies. It may be a weakness for the northern foreigners to think that he can fight in close combat, otherwise he wouldn't be so afraid of being approached. After thinking of this, he sent several Tegu users to assassinate Lucifer. Then these Tegu users were tragically killed by Lucifer. With the heat vision present, Lucifer actually has no time to accumulate power, and he thinks it's good to be as powerful as Darkseid. Anyway, there are basically no people who can't be killed by the heat vision. Now Lucifer's heat the sight was already terrible. Even if there was, it would only be a matter of one punch. The foreign ethnic groups in the north chose to retreat after several Tegu envoys' assassinations failed and there was no more news, but Lucifer kept pursuing them, although the speed was not fast due to the wind and snow. However, as the saying goes, the most terrifying thing is not immediate death, but death that is constantly approaching. Lucifer's army is chasing after the foreign peoples in the north unswervingly, and those who fall behind will be killed. And being chased like this, they can't rest and live peacefully, and can only keep running away. However, this is a cold area with a very harsh living environment, almost as bad as the Arctic, maybe even worse. Therefore, no matter how familiar they are with this place, it is inevitable that people will start to lose their numbers due to natural environmental factors. First, they abandoned the old, weak, women and children who couldn't run fast, then the injured and disabled. It's starting to get chaotic. After Lucifer saw a dozen lone adult men of the northern alien race protecting a group of old, weak, sick and disabled, he knew that the northern alien race was beginning to have disagreements and internal strife because these people all had injuries and bloodstains on their bodies. When they saw the appearance of Lucifer and the army, they knelt down and surrendered. However, Lucifer had already seen many people on the border of the Empire who knelt down and surrendered being massacred by them. Lucifer felt that he was not qualified to forgive these northern foreign nations for them. Moreover, it is not convenient for them to lead so many people to chase the northern foreigners who continue to flee, so they might as well kill them all. Accompanied by curses, cries, and screams, the Imperial army did not show mercy. They also saw many horrific scenes and understood that these people were completely beasts in human skin and did not deserve pity or sympathy. General, our supplies do not allow us to continue our pursuit. Lucifer's adjutant's face has changed a lot. After all, he has experienced too many hardships. The skin on his face has fallen off, healed and fallen off again. He is obviously a very handsome young man, but now he is almost like an uncle due to the wind and snow. Isn't the supply obtained from these foreign tribes in the north not enough? Lucifer asked with a frown. They didn't have the habit of storing large amounts of food, and they destroyed a lot of it by setting fires and poisoning while escaping. The adjutant shook his head. The Imperial army was able to pursue them to such depth only because of their anger and passion. In fact, they had lost contact with the Empire's supply transportation for several months. It was only because the invincible Lord Lucifer killed many dangerous species that blocked his way that he was able to hold on until now, but he couldn't hold on any longer. Lucifer himself could continue to chase, but there was no point. This group of northern foreigners had been scared out of their wits by him. Then go back. Lucifer didn't insist. After doing this, the Emperor was not incompetent, so he naturally wouldn't think that he hadn't fulfilled his promise. Moreover, he had left room for maneuver. Lucifer just wanted to do it thoroughly, so he kept chasing for so long. After they went back, they quickly reconnected with the Empire. The Empire had actually sent an order saying that they could stop chasing. Later, when they couldn't contact each other, the order was constantly transmitted. It wasn't until now that Lucifer received it. They all told me not to continue chasing. After reading it, Lucifer said lazily. But he didn't rush back to the Imperial capital immediately. Esdeath couldn't run away, and he was now strong enough to do whatever he wanted. The Empire's idea was to build a wall on the border. Since Lucifer had already driven away the northern foreign tribes, they could just keep them out. Chapter 6: The Alert Fatty. Lucifer began to return to the Imperial capital. During his time at the border, he used his frozen breath to directly shape a huge ice wall. Judging from the weather here, it is absolutely impossible for this ice wall to have problems or melt. As long as the people here water it daily, it will become stronger and larger, completely blocking the northern foreigners from the wall. Unexpectedly, His Majesty the Emperor was waiting for him outside and did not let Lucifer enter the Imperial capital before welcoming him. The group of people who greeted them also included Nagesidon, Esdeath, the immature 100-man killer Brand, his boss General Liwa, and Ernest, a fat guy. I didn't expect him to be able to do it. Sneak into the team welcoming Lucifer. Lucifer. His Majesty the Emperor was very happy and excited. The foreign ethnic groups in the north had troubled the Empire for who knows how many years. He had been troubled by this problem since he ascended the throne, but he did not expect that this problem would now be solved by Lucifer, an outsider. His Majesty. Lucifer dismounted and bowed slightly. As long as he was not asked to kneel, Lucifer didn't care. Anyway, although the Empire had a kneeling ceremony, Lucifer said on the first day that he would not kneel to others, so the Emperor, Your Majesty, doesn't care about this issue anymore. Then came the celebration banquet prepared by the Emperor. The people of the Imperial capital didn't feel much at all. They didn't live in the north, so they naturally didn't care about the imminent threat from the foreign ethnic groups in the north. However, they also knew that a very powerful general had appeared in the Empire. To Lucifer's surprise, because his performance was so outstanding, His Majesty the Emperor was overjoyed and gave him the position of general. You must know that in the original plot, even Esdeath is only a general, not a general. There is only one great general, Bude. Lucifer's merit this time was so great that he rose to the top in one step. Even if he made more merit, he would not be promoted. The general had already reached the top, so Lucifer thought it might be because Ernest wanted to control Esdeath and give her a possibility of advancement, so he didn't give her the position of general. Unlike now that His Majesty the Emperor is still alive, he naturally doesn't care about this. Lucifer now understands why some soldiers die for their confidants. You treat me as a soldier of the country, and I will repay these illusions as a soldier of the country. Regarding the Emperor's operation, Lucifer felt that he could not be killed like in the original plot. Then we must first put an end to Ernest, the fat guy. As a newly appointed general, Lucifer immediately transferred Esdeath to his command as an adjutant. The original adjutant was promoted by Lucifer in an incomprehensible manner, so naturally he could not continue to be Lucifer adjutant, although he said he was willing to continue to follow Lucifer. Then Lucifer told His Majesty the Emperor that the border was not peaceful, so it was best to send a capable person there, so Lucifer felt that Ernest was a very good official. His Majesty the Emperor did not reject Lucifer's words. He was just curious about how Lucifer knew that there was an official like Ernest in the Empire when he had been in the north for such a long time. I was actually targeted by the general. Ernest was puzzled by that. He met General Lucifer very rarely, or even never, that is, when he welcomed the team. Moreover, General Lucifer didn't think much of himself, but instead he seemed to pay more attention to the two female officers, General Nagesidon and Esdeath, which made him feel that General Lucifer's preferences were very clear. Unexpectedly, in the blink of an eye, he would be pushed to the position of General Manager of the Northern Territory. For others, this was a promotion, especially now that the Northern Territory was defeated by General Lucifer. It was not as dangerous as before, and it was completely a big deal. Make extra money. Ernest didn't think so. He was very self-aware. He was a fat man, even though he had only recently started to gain weight, because he had stayed at the Imperial Fist Temple before. When Ernest was not as fat as he is now, he could even be said to be fat. It's full of muscles. It's not that he has outstanding appearance, nor does he have the ability to display his talents. In addition, General Lucifer is not from the Empire. He is an outsider. How could he take a fancy to his ability at a glance and appoint him as the Northern Territory manager? Ernest thought about it, then resolutely gave himself a knife, and then told His Majesty the Emperor that he had encountered gangsters, was seriously injured, and was unable to serve as the governor of the North. This damn fat guy is pretty smart. It took Lucifer a few days to find out about this. His Majesty the Emperor said that he had sent someone to inquire about Ernest's condition. He was stabbed by a gangster, and it was estimated that it would take 1 or 2 years to recover. Naturally, it was impossible for him to become a Northern Territory of managers. Anyone with a discerning eye would know the problem at a glance, not to mention that Lucifer also knew that Dead Fatty was a master of the Imperial Fist Temple. It was a training base for powerful warriors who could kill and compete with the Emperor's wielders. What kind of gangster could be so powerful that he could hurt someone? To him, it is not the Imperial capital where night raids will be rampant in the future. Chapter 7 Esdeath. But it doesn't matter. The fat guy can escape for a while, but he can't escape forever. Lucifer will definitely throw him to the north, and then he will occasionally feel the cold. Lucifer's biggest interest now is the woman in front of him, who is also his new lieutenant, General Esdeath. General, please tell me what I need to do. Esdeath looked at Lucifer in front of him and said. She didn't know why Lucifer took a fancy to her and made her his subordinate. Don't worry, General Esdeath, right? I know you believe in the law of the jungle. In this way, I will fight with you later. If you win, you can do whatever you want to me. If I win, you will be mine. You do whatever I ask you to do. Lucifer has no interest in correcting Esdeath's character. It has already been formed. How to correct it, let alone why it should be corrected. Isn't this good? It is very suitable for this world. And, corrected, is this person still Esdeath? Esdeath raised her eyebrows when she heard Lucifer say this. These words suited her well. General, aren't you joking? Esdeath asked suspiciously. No way, if you can beat me, even if you want the position of general, I will give it to you. Lucifer is not afraid that Esdeath will not be fooled. This woman is competitive and fierce. This kind of thing is the best for her. There is no need to worry about her disapproval, mainly because Esdeath is also very confident in her self-good. Esdeath immediately agreed, fearing that Lucifer would regret it, and quickly urged him to take action. Lucifer is also afraid that Esdeath will go back on his word. If he misses this village, he can't do whatever he wants to Esdeath. The two dueled in the general's mansion given to Lucifer by His Majesty the Emperor. In the original plot, Esdeath lived in the palace, but Lucifer was different. After all, the situation was different. Although His Majesty the Emperor loves the queen very much, there are no concubines in the harem. In addition, Esdeath was a woman, so no one said anything when she lived in the palace. Bring it on. Lucifer said to Esdeath very calmly, Don't you use weapons? Esdeath knew that General Lucifer had a weapon given to him by His Majesty, but that thing has not been used since Lucifer upgraded and became stronger. No need, just come, don't worry. Lucifer shook his head. Esdeath snorted coldly, feeling that she had been underestimated, and drew out her long sword. Then she crossed the distance between Lucifer and her in one step, almost out of the afterimage. Lucifer admired Esdeath's progress and movements in slow motion frame by frame, then stretched out his hand and grabbed Esdeath's weapon. Esdeath's expression changed visibly, as if she was surprised at Lucifer's speed. However, all her movements seemed slow to Lucifer, and she was unable to avoid Lucifer's grasp. The weapon just made from the extremely hard Allaha was scratched to pieces by Lucifer, and then Esdeath was hugged by Lucifer. "I won," Lucifer said to Esdeath. Esdeath, who was holding her hands, found that Lucifer's hands were like immovable objects. No matter how hard she tried, they could not move at all. She could feel that Lucifer's muscles were even relaxed and he didn't exert too much force. How is this possible? Esdeath is unbelievable. When she was more than 10 years old, she killed all the dangerous species near her tribe, including even super dangerous species, so she has always been confident in her own strength. After joining the Imperial army, the same is true. No matter what enemy he faces, he can easily deal with it, and then he quickly becomes a general. This was the first time she encountered an enemy as powerful as Lucifer. Boom! Esdeath's long legs kicked back, but Lucifer's balls didn't explode. Instead, her feet seemed to hit something indestructible, and the pain seemed to break. "You actually kicked me in the strongest part of my body." Lucifer was very surprised. He had the strongest defense against that place, and the biological force field focused on taking care of it. When Esdeath kicked her, the force of the shock almost caused her long legs to fall apart. "You still won't admit defeat?" Lucifer let go. Esdeath immediately punched out. This woman really refuses to admit defeat. Lucifer leisurely blocked Esdeath's attack with one hand. No matter how Esdeath attacked frantically, he could not break through this arm. It wasn't until Esdeath was tired from fighting that Lucifer seemed to react. "Is it done?" Esdeath looked at Lucifer with a complex expression. She had heard before that Lucifer became famous in a battle with General Bude. General Bude, who did not use the Tegu, could not do anything to Lucifer. But Esdeath has also killed many Tegu users, so he doesn't think that General Bude, a Tegu user, will be very powerful without using the Tegu. Until now, he has been completely powerless against Lucifer. Does that mean that Bude General Toku can crush himself without using a Tegu? Are you so weak? I surrender. From now on, I'm your subordinate, and I will obey your orders. Esdeath calmly accepted the fact of her failure. She believed in the law of the jungle and didn't think there was anything wrong with this at all. The strong could dominate the weak. Well, good, come on, sit here. Lucifer patted his thigh. Esdeath sat on it without hesitation, which surprised Lucifer. He thought Esdeath would hesitate for a while, but he didn't expect Esdeath to be so straightforward. This woman really doesn't care at all. Chapter 8 Imperial Gear. Lucifer originally just wanted to tease Esdeath, but now that she was so direct, Lucifer was confused by her. Esdeath sat on his lap and stopped moving, as if she was letting Lucifer manipulate her. Lucifer was not the kind of coward who wouldn't dare to eat meat even if it came to his mouth. He simply picked up Esdeath and put her on the table. Esdeath groaned and just looked at Lucifer without resisting. Lucifer couldn't bear to let go of Esdeath. He knew the taste after eating the marrow. Esdeath tried to take the upper hand several times during this process, but she underestimated the Kryptonian's fighting power, so that now she is so soft that she doesn't want to move. "You will be my woman from now on." Lucifer helped Esdeath get dressed and then said casual. Esdeath felt that he had already lost. It was Lucifer's thing, and he could deal with it how he wanted. But Esdeath always felt as if something was different. However, this kind of thing cannot be solved by getting dressed. Lucifer asked people to come in and clean the table, and then he and Esdeath went to take a shower. While Lucifer was playing in the water with Esdeath, assassinations of officials began to occur across the Empire, which soon alarmed His Majesty the Emperor. As a general, Lucifer theoretically shouldn't be the one to take care of this kind of thing, but His Majesty the Emperor was anxious, and no one could solve this kind of thing, so he sent someone to find Lucifer. Lucifer took it very seriously after hearing this. The Empire does not yet have such an outstanding assassination organization as it did later. The main reason is that His Majesty the Emperor is kind-hearted and would not come up with such a thing. It was all created by that fat man Ernest after he began to take control of the government, and even more so after the death of the Emperor reached its peak. Otherwise, Ernest would not have been able to help the young Emperor eliminate all competitors and promote him to the throne after the Emperor died and the princes competed for the throne. Therefore, the current assassination of officials made Lucifer wonder whether it was related to the foreign ethnic groups in the north. But the foreign ethnic groups in the north were driven so far by him in pursuit of death, and it was unlikely that they would come back so soon. As for the Revolutionary Army, there is no Revolutionary Army at this time. The people live and work in peace and contentment, and there are a few corrupt officials who dare not go too far. It is much better than in the future. They are just some ambitious people. Maybe they are the ones who did this. Lucifer chose to investigate the scene to see if he had the talent to be a detective. He might also visit the world of Detective Conan in the future. It's a pity that the people here seem to have no idea of protecting the scene, and the scene has been cleaned up. Lucifer had no choice but to tell him that if something like this happens again in the future, he must protect the scene and wait for him to come. As a general, what he said was the most important besides the Emperor. Even General Bute could only refute but not change, so the people under his command naturally did not dare to violate it. If someone really violated it, then Lucifer can also trace this line. All kinds of monsters and monsters have appeared. Could this group of careerists be the future Revolutionary Army? Lucifer thought thoughtfully. If he comes in an honest manner, Lucifer will not be afraid even if the other party comes with 48 Tegu Masters, but he is not happy with this method like a louse, which will not cause any harm to you, but it will itch and sting. His Majesty the Emperor had no objection to Lucifer setting up a special force to pursue this matter. On the contrary, he supported it, mainly because he didn't have many people at hand. So Lucifer took Esdeath and looted the Imperial equipment storehouse openly and honestly. Anyway, with His Majesty the Emperor's approval, all the Imperial equipment in the Imperial equipment storehouse was at his disposal. General Bute admonished His Majesty the Emperor, and then after Lucifer stated his reasons, His Majesty the Emperor no longer hesitated and agreed. Anyone who can kill officials without alerting the guards must be a master of assassination, maybe even a Tegu user. In this case, if the person investigating is an ordinary person, he may encounter misfortune, and Lucifer also plans to use the Tegu. Use mutual induction to determine the target. The most important thing is of course Esdeath by his side. Suddenly, Esdeath looked at the golden pot behind the Tegu table and asked, "I was a little concerned just now. Is the pot placed there also a Tegu?" he said and pointed towards the location of the golden pot. "Oh, that one is the essence of the devil manifested by the devil, made from the blood of a super dangerous species that is said to live in the far north." Seeing where Esdeath's finger was pointing, the administrator of the Tegu library was slightly startled and then immediately resumed his smiling look to explain to Esdeath. "Is blood also a Tegu?" Esdeath asked doubtfully. "Ah, it is said that as long as you drink it and match it, you can gain the ability to manipulate ice unique to the super dangerous species. However, according to records, after this Imperial equipment is obtained, everyone who drinks it will lose it. They lost themselves and went crazy and finally died suddenly. Until now, this is not a good thing however, as the administrator of the Tegu store explained and told. Esdeath's eyes became brighter and brighter, and then he walked directly to the side of the golden pot before the other party had finished speaking. And he said, "Sounds interesting, doesn't it? Wait. You don't want this thing is very evil. I think even if you may not be able to match it. I even guess that there is no one who can match it." Seeing Esdeath walking towards the golden pot and looking very interested, the administrator of the Imperial Equipment Library said anxiously, "Now Esdeath is the new powerful General Lucifer's person. If she gets into trouble, it will not be easy for him." However, Esdeath did not think so. As early as when she entered the side hall, she felt vaguely that something was calling her. Especially after the other party explained, she felt that it was the thing in the golden pot that called her. It doesn't matter. As early as when I entered this hall, I felt that I was called by something. Until I saw this thing just now, this feeling became stronger. I can be sure that it is the blood in this pot that is calling me. Esdeath was rarely serious. She felt that she seemed to have seen the hope of defeating Lucifer. But even if that's the case, how can you guarantee yourself anyway? I still think this thing is too weird, and someone has said something like what you just said before. But everyone who said this is Chapter 9, Esdeath and -039's accident. Esdeath ignored the other party's dissuasion and drank the blood of this super dangerous species in the far north. She drank a pot of blood. It tastes pretty good, Esdeath said after finishing the drink. General Esdeath, how are you feeling? The manager of Teiguku asked worriedly. Nothing, it feels good. Just when Esdeath felt like there was no reaction and something wrong happened, suddenly a lot of negative emotions and information appeared in her mind. Killing, devouring, violence! This is it turns out that those guys are driven crazy by this kind of thing, ha 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 ha. But even so, don't even think about conquering me. Esdeath covered her head. She saw the information accumulated from the consciousness of the super dangerous species over the years, countless times of killing, devouring, fighting, slaughtering, and violence. This huge amount of information is enough to shock a person's brain into an idiot or simply into a beast-like person. The super dangerous species has survived for who knows how many years. This kind of information is as vast as the sea, and human memory of just a few decades is simply vulnerable. But Esdeath was not among them. She forcibly accepted the most impactful part of the huge memory. However, these things that were scary, cruel, violent, and bloody to others were what Esdeath enjoyed the most. A moment later, Esdeath breathed out extremely low-temperature white mist, and then a special mark formed in the center of her chest. This is the Tegu appearance of the demon god Devil's essence. Esdeath's desire to kill was aroused hundreds or even 1,000 times more intensely, amplifying the pleasure and desire for killing, death, torture, and pain. Now she really wanted to find someone to fight. Lucifer, who was bored outside, suddenly felt something rushing towards him at a terrifying speed. Boom! The next moment, Lucifer caught the kick from Esdeath's long legs. It's a lot better, but it's not enough, Lucifer said casually, keenly noticing Esdeath's somewhat twisted expression and eyes filled with madness and murderous intent. In the original plot, Esdeath had no one to let her vent, so it settled down, making her desire to torture others even stronger, and even developed to the point where she found it very enjoyable to kill and torture. When Tasmi came out, her accumulated desire was vented with the blood of countless people. The long-suppressed hormones burst out, and she had the idea of finding a lover. Now, Esdeath feels that Lucifer is a good person to vent to. A large piece of ice smashed over, and Lucifer remained motionless. His eyes turned red. He could not see it with the naked eye. He could only see the distorted heat vision of the air and evaporated Esdeath's ice, but Esdeath followed closely. Then the attack came again. This time, dozens of ice spikes were fired at a speed comparable to an anti-material sniper rifle. Lucifer stretched out an index finger, then pulled out countless afterimages, shattered the ice spikes shot by Esdeath with his index finger, and he also fight back proactively instead of letting Esdeath vent. Lucifer had no idea of standing and getting beaten, and he wasn't used to it. Ola 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 ola. Lucifer punched with both fists. Esdeath's pupils shrank, and she could see. It's different from the invisible speed before. She thought it was because her strength had greatly increased, but she didn't know that Lucifer was taking care of her. He also saw that something was wrong with Esdeath's state. Could it be that something went wrong when fusing the Tegu? Could it be that he was the cause again? Forced by Lucifer's pressure, Esdeath kept parrying and trying to fight back, but she soon became exhausted. She had just obtained the Tegu and was not very familiar with its abilities. Esdeath was still more accustomed to close combat. But in close combat with a Kryptonian, even Steppenwolf would be beaten to pieces. So it didn't take long for Esdeath to be subdued by Lucifer. Exactly 2 hours later, Lucifer flew back to his mansion with a ragged Esdeath in his arms. He didn't know that this was because Bingfeng's desire to kill in Esdeath's body was suppressed by another desire, and then it became the desire for reproduction that Bingfeng had suppressed for thousands of years. This desire was stronger than killing. I don't know how strong the desire is. After all, it is difficult to find another super dangerous species like the ice phoenix, just like the cross-tailed dragon in the Sea of Clouds, which is basically the only one. Next, Lucifer couldn't rest every day because Esdeath seemed to have changed into a different person, no longer trembling, but almost like a Chapter 10 Law Enforcers and Assassins. Lucifer didn't know what was going on, but it seemed that Esdeath's transformation into a nympho was not bad. The original bloodthirsty sadist was very tempting, but this one was even more attractive. Of course, Lucifer's enjoyment of life was soon disturbed. The assassination happened again, and this time more than a dozen officials with a good reputation were assassinated, which even caused a small riot. Although it was suppressed in time, people's hearts began to stir now. It's not that ordinary people want to join the riot. They are just afraid that their peaceful life will be disrupted. Lucifer rushed to the scene and saw the well-preserved traces. This is good news, indicating that at least there should be no people from the other side among the people he sent out. However, after Lucifer looked through it, he relied on the supervision of the Kryptonians to find a lot of traces that ordinary people could not find, but it was useless. He lacked detailed knowledge in this area and couldn't even remember the particle interaction. After watching so many episodes of Conan, I don't know what I saw. Besides, even if he knew, it seems that he can't cooperate with the current conditions. It's not like modern technology and instruments can analyze and lock it. It's really troublesome. Lucifer shook his head, but he also had his own way. Otherwise, why did he form the Tegu user? It was to cast a wide net and use the Kryptonians' super hearing and supervision to lock the situation of each Tegu user. When they were attacked, the Tegu user could at least hold on for a longer time, and Lucifer could arrive quickly. He arrived, and all problems were no longer a problem. It's just that the Tegu that appeared in the original plot are traceable, and most of them are not in the hands of the Empire. Nachiton is still using the romantic turret pumpkin. After all, she will take it to the Revolutionary Army in the future. Now, Nachiton has been recruited to join the Special Forces, and the same is true for the user Brand, who is haunted by evil spirits. Lucifer values Brand the most. After all, he is a strong man who can kill hundreds of people, and in the original plot, he can kill 3 beast warriors at once, and killing other Tegu users is as easy as cutting melons and vegetables. Although it may not be as powerful as the 4 top fighters, Esdeath, General Bud, Susanoo, and Akim, it is not a problem to rank 5th. As for the National Protection Mecha, that thing is not a human. There is also Lubbock, the user of the 1000 Changes Cross-Tail, who joined the army because of his admiration for Nachiton. As for Leon, she has not been found yet, and it is not known whether she has obtained the Lion King belt. Not to mention Hill, the confused glasses girl. Asking her to protect people may not be successful. The 2 sisters Akim and Kirom were found. After all, they have been cruelly separated and then performed their respective tasks. After being recruited by General Lucifer, the 2 sisters reunited, and I don't know how happy they are. Lan is still a teacher now, and Lucifer has no intention of looking for him. As for Will, he can't be found. He went to sea to fight. It is said that he may not come back for more than half a year. After all, he is the Imperial Navy. General Lucifer. Seeing Lucifer appear, the members of this special force law enforcer immediately saluted him. Well, now is the first mission of the law enforcers. Lucifer didn't waste any words and threw a stack of documents to them. According to speculation, the assassin's next target may be these people. I ask each of you to choose a target to protect. After Lucifer finished speaking, Najdin and the others immediately stepped forward to pick up the documents and check them. In these documents, Lucifer focused on having people write down the good things and practical things these officials did. They were all virtuous and loyal officials. After all, this group of people are basically in the good camp. The only one who is not clear about the camp is that the black pupil has not been led astray. Lucifer has seen that although she has taken a lot of banned drugs to gain combat power, her body is not yet riddled with holes and can be cured. This group of assassins constantly deal with loyal officials and wise officials. The purpose is very simple, that is, they want the empire to become chaotic. So the task of our law enforcers is to eliminate all of these people and protect the lives of the people of the empire from being disturbed and destroyed. Lucifer's righteous words made Najdin and the others very agree. General Lucifer, please rest assured, we will definitely protect you all. Brand said with passion. He just felt that this group of assassins was too hateful. General Lucifer, is it dangerous to disperse the manpower? Najdin proposed a different idea. Although this woman's IQ was a little bit wrong later, her IQ in military operations and combat was still fine. She felt that since the assassins were powerful, they were able to complete the assassination after the Empire was alert and prepared so many times. Although the Emperor's weapon was very powerful, it was also very dangerous when it was outnumbered. It doesn't matter, as long as you encounter the enemy, call my name as soon as possible, and I will arrive immediately, General Lucifer said calmly. Although he is not as fast as the global speed of Dachau, it is still no problem for a mere empire, and calling his name is more recognizable. Lucifer's super brain is not as powerful as Super's. With super hearing and supervision, the information he receives every minute and every second is beyond imagination. He can capture the sound of a raindrop falling on the ground and the spreading waves, as well as the vibration of the air, thousands of meters away. The current super brain can only barely process so much information. Najdin was a little surprised. General Lucifer was probably joking. The distances of these targets were different, and the farthest one was even very exaggerated. The main reason was that even if they knew that they might become the targets of assassins, it was impossible to gather all these officials together. It was okay for 1 or 2 days, but after a long time, there would be chaos everywhere. I believe in General Lucifer. Brand didn't say anything. After all, Lucifer expelled the northern aliens for the Empire. Under the circumstances that Lucifer deliberately let people publicize and build momentum, everyone thought that Lucifer was a general who served the country and the people. This world actually has no means to control public opinion. Of course, Lucifer had to use this incident to build a golden body for himself. Anyway, he was not lying. There were northern residents who had been harmed by the northern aliens and told their stories about how cruel and inhumane the northern aliens were. Only in this way, Lucifer believed that the momentum of the revolutionary army could be stopped. After all, after being propagated like this for many years, the northern aliens were either Chapter 11 support from the sky. It's not that Najdin doesn't believe in Lucifer's plan, she just thinks it's risky. But when Brand said this, she continued to talk as if she was arguing with Brand about whether Lucifer could be trusted. This was undoubtedly very offending. In desperation, Najdin could only hope that Lucifer would die. The general is really sure that he will arrive in time. Or is General Lucifer actually ambushing his troops around the target? Having no other choice, Najdin stopped Lubbock, who wanted to say something for her, and then selected the person she thought was most likely to be a target after analysis. If this group of assassins wanted to bring chaos to the Empire, the more influential the target of the assassination would be, the better. It was not like Najdin had not paid attention to this matter before, and she knew their purpose very well. This group of Tegu users each selected their targets and set off to protect them. Lucifer sent troops to protect the remaining targets, thereby forcing the assassins to target the targets protected by the Tegu users. It would be great if it was really those people from the Revolutionary Army. Kill them all and eradicate the roots. Lucifer was toying with Esdeath. This woman was particularly pestering now. Even if Lucifer was doing serious things, she would come over and pester her. With no other choice, Lucifer had to deal with Esdeath first. The following days fell into an eerie calm, and it was clear that the group of assassins also discovered something was wrong. Targets that are not very important and have low priority have troops stationed and patrolled nearby. However, the top priority targets only have their original guards around them. If this is no problem, then you are looking at them as fools. What to do? They know that this must be a trap, and they don't know what kind of trap it is, so they are so confident that they can eat them. Moreover, I also found out that Lucifer was well in the Imperial capital. Even if the general wanted to take action, he would not be able to arrive all at once. Let's take action. Aren't we just trying to cause chaos in the shortest possible time? The foreign ethnic groups in the north have been driven far away. The Empire will target our side next. If we don't let chaos arise here, we will be in danger. Lucifer suddenly raised his head. Nagesidon was attacked. He didn't expect that she would be the target. At this time, Nagesidon protected the target and hid in the pavilion. She did not expect that there would be so many assassins attacking this time, and there would also be Tegu users and powerful men who were no weaker than the Tegu users be. The power of the romantic fortress pumpkin was greatly increased due to this crisis, and Nagesidon shot it, hitting 2 people and penetrating their bodies. It's the Tegu user. According to the intelligence, it's Nagesidon. Superior. A group of people rushed up. Intelligence. What information? Nagesidon frowned after hearing their words. General Nagesidon, you'd better run and leave me alone. The protected target said to Nagesidon that he knew very well that if he was taken with him, Nagesidon would not be able to escape at all. It was better to die alone than to die together. I have requested support, but I don't know when it will come. Nagesidon said helplessly. When she saw the number of people, she didn't show any courage and shouted directly, which shocked the group of people. But no one has come yet. The next moment, she heard a loud bang. Lucifer, who fell from the sky, did not activate the biological force field at all. This impact eliminated most of the enemies, and the rest were blown away by the shock wave, smashing walls and houses and being seriously injured. I left a few alive and asked them to be arrested and tortured. Lucifer said to Nagesidon, who was watching the scene blankly. Is this solved? Nagesidon couldn't believe it. General Lucifer really came and killed the enemy in one go? They're too weak, Lucifer said calmly, but it is not surprising that a humanoid shell fired at supersonic speed can cause such lethality. It is even amazing that there are still people alive among them. Lucifer's landing point is their center, and theoretically everyone will be affected. Because Esdeath, who is best at torture, has gone wrong now and has no interest in torture and killing, this job was left to Nagesidon. Of course, Nagesidon didn't know how to torture, so she planned to leave it to professionals to arrest the surviving assassin and then send it to the Imperial capital's torture officer. Although the Imperial torturers were not as professional as Esdeath, their torture methods were not something these people could withstand, so these people quickly confessed. They are from foreign ethnic groups in the south. Lucifer was very surprised after hearing this. This was the first time he heard about the foreign ethnic groups in the south. Are there other foreign ethnic groups in the south that are the enemies of the Empire? Not only are there foreign ethnic groups in the north, but also the nations and kingdoms in the west. When did a foreign ethnic group in the south appear again? Aliens are ethnic minorities that are different from the people of the Empire. The foreign ethnic groups in the west, that is, the states, formed an alliance with the Revolutionary Army to fight against the Empire. The foreign peoples in the north had been resisting the empire, but were later wiped out by Esdeath. The foreign ethnic groups in the south also raised flags to rebel in the past, but they were also suppressed by Esdeath and surrendered. Lucifer learned about the alien races and then realized that there were so many of them. However, he did not completely believe what those guys said. Who knows if the Western alien races diverted the trouble to the Southern alien races in order to protect their own people. And there are people from the Royal Fist Temple among them. The Royal Fist Temple is the highest level fist temple in the Empire. It not only accepts huge donations from the Empire, but also receives many preferential treatments for a long time. In contrast, some outstanding people hold important positions in the Empire, specializing in helping the Empire do dirty things, and shouldering the task of collecting the Imperial equipment scattered all over the country during the civil strife 500 years ago. Among them, even if the masters do not hold the Imperial equipment, their skills and strength can match the Imperial equipment users. However, due to the expansion of scale, the overall strength has been weakened. In addition to the Royal Fist Temple, there are other places to learn fighting, such as the martial arts competition in the original plot of Esdeath. No, in the competition to select the Imperial equipment user, the Minotaur said that he came from somewhere and learned a very powerful fist, and then was knocked down by Tatsumi, who came from a wild way. Lucifer was very suspicious whether the fat guy Ernest was involved in this. They had no accomplices and said they planned to concentrate their forces so that they could deal with any traps. However, they did not expect that General Lucifer would not follow the rules of martial arts and killed all of their people in one go, leaving the remaining people disabled. Chapter 12. The hunt begins. Anyway, this matter finally came to an end. The remaining people could not hold on and all confessed the whereabouts of their companions, so they were also successfully eliminated by the law enforcers. After Lucifer solved this matter, he did not delay. He planned to start his own upgrade path of hunting dangerous species. Anyway, there are so many dangerous species in this world, and there are talents like Fashion who can create giant dangerous species. That thing can become so powerful with one injection, and it seems that the experience value must be very high. As for experimental subjects, there are so many unforgivable criminals. It is too wasteful and too lenient to let them be executed. It is better to use them as labor and hard labor as experimental subjects. It's just that he traveled through time too early, and Fashion is still a small figure at present, let alone researching the results accumulated for so many years. The Empire has a lot of intelligence about dangerous species, mainly to observe the possible harm caused by these dangerous species, such as invasion. The threats on the border are not just foreign ethnic groups, but also many from dangerous species, especially flying dangerous species. There is a group of flying dangerous species invading the Empire in the south. They are expected to migrate, but their food source is humans. Lucifer looked at the information in his hand. The migration of dangerous species is troublesome and a headache for the Empire and many humans. The migration of migratory birds on Earth may be spectacular, and then it will be gone, but here, it means deadly danger. Every year, we suffer more than 100 crises caused by the migration of dangerous species, and each time the casualties are not low, mainly because there are too many of these dangerous species. Humans naturally have strong people who can kill dangerous species like slaughtering dogs, just like Esdeath, who can kill super dangerous species after adulthood, but it is difficult to deal with a large number of dangerous species, and ordinary soldiers do not have the strength to fight against dangerous species. In the original plot, after Shang died, the dangerous species in the unmanaged laboratories in various parts of the Empire were released by Sheila, which endangered the Empire for a long time. In the end, it was the night raid and the two great Imperial tools of the hunters that made the organization work together to solve the harm of these dangerous species. And these dangerous species are far from the level of super dangerous species. After reading the intelligence, Lucifer immediately flew to the area invaded by flying dangerous species. A large number of flying dangerous species are preying on humans in the city. They look a bit like the origami in God Eater, but they are not that big. At most they are about the size of a tiger. As soon as Lucifer arrived, he took a little boy away from the attack of a dangerous species and beat the dangerous species into pieces. Then he shot out thermal vision at a high frequency. Now his thermal vision has a strong killing power. In an instant, dozens of thermal visions turned dozens of dangerous species into nothingness, saving many people. Without any stop, the speed of ordinary people is too slow for Kryptonians, and even the speed of these flying dangerous species seems to be in slow motion. Of course, this is only caused by Lucifer's supervision and super reaction. Normally, he certainly doesn't want to watch slow motion, otherwise he will become dull and stupid sooner or later, just like Saitama. After Lucifer dealt with this group of flying dangerous species, he didn't think of showing up and flew away directly. The army that followed behind arrived late, but they also did a good job of comforting and treating, and continued to promote Lucifer. In their view, General Lucifer was simply a good man who served the country and the people. He had just ended the war with the northern ethnic groups and solved the assassin's case. As a result, before he had a rest, he started to clean up the dangerous species that endangered the Empire. Even His Majesty the Emperor thought that Lucifer was really good. He didn't expect that an outsider could be so loyal to the country. I didn't expect it would take so long just to clean up these dangerous species. Lucifer originally thought that he was strong enough and fast enough, and the cleaning should be fast. As a result, after he started doing this, he found that it was not fast at all. It took him more than half a month to clean up the dangerous species in the Empire and the border. The level naturally accumulated little by little and reached level 5. After reaching level 5, this damn experience bar will not increase. Lucifer killed a lot of monsters, but it was still 0.11%. How much experience points would it take do I have to kill all the dangerous species in this world to upgrade to level 6? The problem is that killing all the dangerous species will not cause problems in the ecological environment, right? It seems that the dangerous species in this world have formed a food chain, an ecosystem unique to the Earth with nature. It is very unlikely that the number of ordinary beasts combined is 1/10,000th of the dangerous species. No matter what, if those top super dangerous species are extinct, the remaining dangerous species will naturally not threaten human survival, right? Lucifer made up his mind, and the first target was Tyrant, the super dangerous species material that was said to be able to evolve continuously, the Imperial weapon, the Devil. Because its talent is really too powerful, it can quickly adapt to the environment and continuously evolve upward according to the environment. No one knows whether this evolution has restrictions, but according to the setting of the world, there will be no restrictions before it exceeds this world. And there are quite a few of them. They are a race, not just the one killed by the first emperor. The current invisibility ability of the evil spirits is the result of the evolution of this super dangerous species Tyrant after being hunted down many times. Theoretically, the super dangerous species Tyrant alone can create various Imperial tools with different abilities. Especially in the comics, Tatsumi also adapted to Esdeath's Mahapatmo that can freeze molecular movement and cause the effect of time stopping. He adapted to it in just 2 times, and then he could move in time stop like Esdeath. Lucifer wondered if he could force the super dangerous species Tyrant to evolve to a level comparable to his own. At that time, he would definitely get a lot of experience points by killing it. As for the more powerful, legendary super dangerous species, such as the cross-tail dragon above the Sea of Clouds and the ice phoenix, the source of Esdeath's Imperial tool blood, these are nothing. The legendary super dangerous species are something that even the first emperor couldn't do anything about. Even Esdeath in her prime couldn't deal with them. The reason they were able to obtain their materials was because the cross-tail dragon was so annoyed by the first emperor that he threw a hair to him to send him away. As for the Ice Phoenix, it was slightly injured, so there was that pot of blood. Chapter 13. Beating Evolution. Our plan failed. In the western part of the Empire, where the foreign nations of the West are located, a group of people gathered together with gloomy eyes. Damn it, I only carried out 2 assassinations and then were wiped out. Isn't it said that these assassins are very powerful? There are also assassins from the Imperial Fist Temple. A one-eyed bald man said in confusion. At the beginning, the charge was so expensive and he looked arrogant, but now it's gone? This is all related to the Empire's new general. The man sitting in the middle seat, who was clearly the leader at a glance, spoke up. Lucifer. This name was familiar to all of them. Originally, they had just received the news that the Empire had sent people to conquer the foreign nations in the north. This strange-sounding name only had a slight impression. The Empire's crusade against the foreign nations in the north was a good thing, and it would not be a waste of so many years for them. In the future, they will continue to create contradictions and conflicts between the Empire and the foreign ethnic groups in the north. Compared with the troubles caused by the foreign peoples in the north, the foreign peoples in the west and the south have not attracted so much attention. However, no one expected that the results this time would be so different. The foreign peoples in the north who had always been invincible actually after being beaten and fleeing from the original northern border, I heard that they ran all the way to the seaside before the Imperial army had to return due to supply problems. Otherwise, this group of northern foreign ethnic groups may really be completely exterminated. The foreign nations in the west immediately realized that they were in trouble. The foreign nations in the north had been wiped out. In order for the Empire to maintain long-term stability, it would be their turn to fight against the foreign nations in the south. Although the Empire is the strongest force in the world, there are still many forces surrounding the Empire that are eyeing it, trying to carve out a piece of meat from the huge piece of flesh of the Empire. The East is an uncivilized island and will not be discussed. There is a kingdom comparable to an empire in the far west, and there are also foreign nations in the west nearby. In the south, there are also a large number of pirates prevalent on the southern islands, and there are also southern foreign ethnic groups nearby. There are a large number of dangerous species running rampant on the endless frozen soil in the north, and there are also northern alien races nearby. In the original plot, the southern alien nation was the first to be eliminated. The Empire originally sent more than 100,000 troops to exterminate the rebellious southern alien nation, but they hesitated to move forward due to many reasons such as the acclimatization and dangerous mountains and forests. In the end, after sending General Esdeath there, he quickly pacified the foreign nations in the south and directly exterminated them in a blink of an eye, causing the foreign nations in the south to be directly destroyed in a fire. Then there are the foreign ethnic groups in the north. Now, because of Lucifer, the alien races in the north were wiped out many years ahead of schedule. Only about 10,000 of the 400,000 strong army escaped. As for the ordinary people of the alien races in the north, they suffered heavy casualties. Lucifer didn't know much about the frozen soil in the north. How did the harsh environment raise an army of 400,000 people? The western foreign nations were not wiped out, mainly because of the Western Kingdom behind them. This is not to say that the foreign nations in the west belong to the Western Kingdom. The two are different concepts. The Western Kingdom is proficient in the art of alchemy. The first emperor also used alchemy when he created the Imperial equipment. However, the strength of the Western Kingdom cannot be said to be comparable to that of the Western Kingdom. The Empire competes, but with the Western foreign nations as a buffer, the Western Kingdoms and the Empire can also achieve a 50-50 split. The Western Kingdom obviously also knows the truth of the death of lips and teeth. So every time the Empire launches troops against foreign nations in the West, it will be defeated by the support of the Western Kingdom. Before the rise of Esdeath, the Empire's generals seemed to be average, including Bran's boss Liwa. That man wiped out the 400,000 strong army of the foreign people in the north in just 3 months. If it hadn't taken time to travel and pursue, it could have been even shorter. Then what should we do? The Empire has obtained such a sharp weapon. It will definitely not be used only to deal with the foreign peoples in the north. We may all be targeted next, so we can't wait for the Empire to come over before we respond. Contact the kingdom. The foreign nations in the south will also send people to contact you, but I don't know if those barbarians know how to cooperate because the foreign ethnic groups in the south live in the mountains and forests, and because of the way they dress, many people look down on them, thinking that they are barbarians like barbarians. But at least it is much better than the uncivilized Eastern Island country, where there is really no way to communicate at all, and the indigenous barbarians can also eat people. Boom! The ground shook, and then a huge gap opened, as if a major earthquake of magnitude 7 or above had occurred. But it's actually just the power of Lucifer's punch roar. The super dangerous tyrant roared and was punched away by Lucifer before hitting the ground and almost dying. This terrifying sense of oppression and the evolution brought about by fear have made the super dangerous tyrant's body visibly thicker. Complete matter is not conserved. Lucifer crossed his hands and did not continue to take action. He finally found a super dangerous tyrant. Although this thing is a race, it is very difficult to find because they have evolved to adapt to any environment, such as volcanic tyrant, flying tyrant, etc. Frost tyrant, ocean tyrant, etc. It's unbelievable why the food chain hasn't been destroyed by the super dangerous tyrant until now. This thing should have no natural enemies and predators. Supervision and perspective eyes observed that tyrant's body density was increasing, but how did it increase its density out of thin air? Then after this super dangerous species tyrant evolved, it did not attack Lucifer, but wanted to run away directly. Where do you want to run to? Lucifer grabbed its tail, and this huge dangerous species immediately became unable to move. Look at me, helpless fall. Lucifer swung the super dangerous species tyrant with one hand. Even though its 4 legs were tightly grasping the ground, Lucifer was so powerful that he forcibly threw it and the large piece of ground that it was holding tightly off the ground, and then it kept spinning. Bang, 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 bang. Lucifer waved the super dangerous species tyrant, smashing it around, and finally let it go when the perspective eyes observed that it was about to die. The super dangerous species tyrant recovered quickly. Its vitality was very tenacious. After being made into an Imperial weapon, it was actually still alive. Otherwise it would not have corroded Tatsumi and turned him into a tyrant. The energy in its mouth gathered after it recovered, and then a burst of energy rainbow light shot out and hit Lucifer directly. Boom, boom, boom. The huge explosion swept across several kilometers. Chapter 14. 99 more will be enough to upgrade. Awesome. It has become so much stronger in an instant. Lucifer walked out of the explosion leisurely, and super dangerous tyrant was at a loss. That was already its strongest attack method. Originally, super dangerous tyrant had no means of energy attack, but because of the urgent need to eliminate Lucifer, the enemy, it evolved energy organs that imitated the energy attacks of other super dangerous species. Then Lucifer disappeared in front of super dangerous tyrant in the blink of an eye. Before super dangerous tyrant could catch where Lucifer was, its body exploded into 2 parts, and the upper and lower parts were completely separated. Roar! Super dangerous tyrant wailed. This was already a fatal injury, but super dangerous tyrant would not die. In Lucifer's unexpected expression, it swallowed its lower body in one gulp and grew a new lower body. I thought 2 tyrant would grow out of thin air. Why do they obey the laws of physics unexpectedly in such a place this time? The super dangerous tyrant evolved into a very powerful form. Various crystals like energy nodes appeared all over his body, and then the crystals were linked together. Lucifer keenly saw that the free energy, radiation waves, gravity, etc. in the air, or in other words, the free energy, radiation waves, gravity, etc. in this world were absorbed by these energy nodes. The sky and the earth changed color, and the dark clouds pressed down on the city as if the city was about to be destroyed. Then the super dangerous tyrant was full of light, and it gathered all the energy at one point. The roaring star collapse cannon? Lucifer felt very familiar, but he couldn't remember which work it was from. Then a light cannon that penetrated the clouds of the sky and the earth hit him. The light cannon with a diameter of 10 meters, the colorful rainbow light was magnificent and dangerous, and the energy contained was at the level of natural disasters. Lucifer felt pain for the first time. As a level 5 Kryptonian, although I don't know how strong it is, it should be no problem to ignore natural disasters such as tornadoes. However, if the energy intensity of a tornado is concentrated at one point, it is not comparable to the destructive power of a tornado. The energy generated by the nuclear warhead, the most powerful weapon of mankind, is only a tiny fraction of the energy intensity of various natural disasters. So why not launch a nuclear warhead to neutralize tornadoes, typhoons, and hurricanes is completely a pipe dream. Good guy, you can hurt me. The experience value must be high. Lucifer was very excited, and this thing seemed to have evolved to be very dangerous. If you don't kill it now, when will you? So Lucifer punched the super dangerous species tyrant on the head. This punch was so strong that the head of the super dangerous species tyrant was directly vaporized. The air shock wave spread out for thousands of miles, stirring up the atmospheric clouds. Will it rain for several months in the future? And then there may be hurricanes. The super dangerous tyrant who lost his head did not continue to live, but fell directly to the ground. Although his body still had vitality, it seemed that it would not grow a new head. Lucifer stared at the experience value and found that after he killed the super dangerous tyrant with one punch, the experience value jumped from 0.11% to 1%. A full 1% of experience value, of course. It is also possible that the accumulated experience value before added up to 1%. Find another 99 tyrants and then beat them to this level. It should be almost possible to upgrade, right? Just when Lucifer was about to do this, he suddenly received a notice from Esdeath. This woman came to him directly on a flying dangerous species. The unrest of the southern ethnic groups. Lucifer was startled. What does this have to do with him? Then he remembered that he seemed to be a general, and he was really responsible for this matter. The unrest of the southern ethnic groups has currently affected the safety of the southern part of the empire. Esdeath snuggled in Lucifer's arms and said to him. This woman came up and asked Lucifer to have, and then after a million words of fighting, she was defeated. The desire accumulated by the Ice Phoenix for so many years is terrible, but it will not strengthen Esdeath's body. As a Kryptonian, Lucifer's physical strength in this aspect can be said that even if you pull all the women in the world over, Lucifer will still win. In addition, there is a magical thing like biological force field. No matter how many times it is rubbed, it will not hurt the woman, but will become more sensitive. Why would the southern aliens make trouble at this time? Lucifer was puzzled. If it was the original plot, it would be easy to say, after all, the southern aliens were the first to rebel, but now there are 400,000 northern aliens who were killed by the Empire and then driven away. Although the southern aliens look like native savage tribes, they are not really uncivilized native savages. After so much time, they don't know about this. Or are they really so confident that they think they can ignore the power of the Empire? There was no other way. As a general, Lucifer was the supreme commander of all military operations in the Empire at this time. Even if he wanted Esdeath to be responsible for dealing with the southern ethnic minorities as in the original plot, it was impossible to do it with just one appointment. He had to get the king's order first. Otherwise it would be impossible to mobilize troops privately, and the responsibility would be great. So Lucifer followed Esdeath back to the Imperial capital. His Majesty the Emperor was extremely anxious. His kind nature of loving the people like his own son made him unable to sit still after seeing the cruelty of the southern alien nations to the people in the southern region of the Empire. Otherwise, he would not have found Esdeath immediately and asked her to give Lucifer to him. Get it back. And luckily Lucifer told them where he went when he left. Otherwise, Esdeath wouldn't be able to find Lucifer so quickly. What's the situation now? How many are there? Lucifer thought that if they went deep into the southern region of the Empire, they would no longer have the advantage of their own geographical environment. The most strategic deployment at this time should be to send people to lead the army to surround them so that they cannot return own territory, and then ambushed them from all sides, annihilating them all. But as a Kryptonian, he doesn't need to be so troublesome. He can just deal with them all in one wave. He doesn't plan to send out any military force. If he sends out a large army, transportation will be very troublesome. Just transportation is prone to casualties, and the food consumed is also high. Quite a few. It would be bad if it wastes people and money. The foreign ethnic groups from the south dispatched 200,000 people. The strange thing is that among these foreign ethnic groups from the south, there seem to be many people from the western ethnic groups. The intelligence officer of the Empire said respectfully to His Majesty the Emperor and the Great General Lucifer. Chapter 15. Action. The intelligence officer of the Empire is actually the top person in charge of the assassination organization of Red Eyes and Black Eyes and the organization that obtains intelligence. At present, this intelligence officer is not one of Ornist's. Now, because Ornist is afraid that Lucifer, the general, will persecute him, he actively requests to be transferred, even if he is demoted. The fat man no longer jumped around in front of him, and Esdeath's tight grip allowed him to live for a long time. However, as a Kryptonian, Lucifer's super brain would not let him forget Ernest exist. Since I'm back this time, let's take care of that fat guy Ernest as well. The foreign ethnic groups in the south and the foreign ethnic groups in the west are probably united together, but there may also be traces of the Western Kingdom. Lucifer continued. Although the foreign nations of the West and the Kingdom of the West are two forces, this is not the first time they have cooperated with each other. The Empire is so powerful that others seem to be uniting to fight against the Qin dynasty and have no choice but to unite. General Lucifer, how many troops do you need? After hearing this, His Majesty the Emperor asked directly. No need, I can do it alone. Lucifer's words made General Braun on the side stunned. He knew that Lucifer had become a lot stronger for some reason. He was obviously not a Tegu user, but he had terrifying strength that made him feel powerful and oppressive. He felt that even if he used Tegu is probably no match for him. But no matter how powerful he is, it's impossible for one person to deal with hundreds of thousands of people, right? In fact, he didn't know that in the later period, Esdeath alone could deal with all the Tegu users and the army of the Revolutionary Army. If she hadn't been determined to die, the Empire might have been able to continue another wave, because the enemies were almost defeated by Esdeath. Killed them all. His Majesty the Emperor naturally had the same thoughts and worries as him. But Lucifer had already made up his mind, so they couldn't persuade Lucifer to change his mind. Someone who was interested quickly spread the news about the conversation between Lucifer and His Majesty the Emperor. That general actually wants to deal with us alone? The foreign nations in the West feel that they have been underestimated, not to mention the foreign nations in the South. If Lucifer comes with a large army, they may still feel that the situation is serious. After all, the foreign nations in the north have been wiped out, and no one can doubt this. The talent of a great general, but it would be outrageous to say that he was so arrogant that he wanted to deal with them alone. It is true that the Tegu user is very strong. A powerful Tegu user can kill hundreds of people on a battlefield until the opponent collapses. But I have never heard of anyone who can deal with an army of hundreds of thousands. Super even dangerous species can't do it. Otherwise, the first emperor would not have led his army to hunt down various super dangerous species and killed 46 of them. In addition to the two legendary super dangerous species, Ice Phoenix and Crosstail, even Tyran was killed. Killed one. Therefore, the deterrent effect of the army in this world is still very strong, and Esdeath's kind is out of the question. Lucifer has now offended the interests of many people. Both Western and Southern foreign nations want to deal with him. Otherwise, they will have trouble sleeping and eating for fear that they will become the next northern foreign nation. So, in their view, this is a good opportunity. Hell, if they don't seize this opportunity to trick him to death in the south, they would be sorry for Lucifer's own arrogance. Then Lucifer said that he would take Ernest with him to deal with the foreign nations in the south. His Majesty the Emperor was confused as to why he would take a civil servant with him. Your Majesty, don't you know, Ernest is a master from the Imperial Fist Temple, and he is also the most powerful one, Lucifer said with a matter-of-fact expression. Yeah. His Majesty the Emperor really didn't know how powerful Ernest was, but he looked so paunchy. Could he really be a master from the Imperial Fist Temple? But it doesn't matter. General Lucifer can take whomever he wants. Then Esdeath was unhappy. Would you rather take a fat man with you than me? Esdeath sat on Lucifer's body and said to him very dissatisfied. For Esdeath, who knows the taste of marrow, Lucifer is the one who can bring her the pleasure of risking one's life. The fighting and killing that she liked before are nothing now. She feels that she was in vain before. Live men are the best things in the world, especially Lucifer. So she was not willing to leave Lucifer's side. If she couldn't defeat him, Esdeath actually wanted to imprison Lucifer for fun. Can this be the same? I'm going to fight. So of course I have to bring someone with me who can help with chores. Lucifer stripped Esdeath naked while telling nonsense that even he didn't believe. I can do that too. Esdeath didn't know why her breathing became rapid, and her cheeks seemed to be flushed with anger. You are my woman, how can I let you do that kind of menial and tiring work? Lucifer moved his waist and did a gymnastics called Time is Calling. While Lucifer was comforting Esdeath and doing things to bring harmony to life, Ernest also received the news. He couldn't run away this time, because Lucifer named him by name and his status was different. If he said he should bring it with him, he must bring it with him, even if he pretended to be sick. Ernest was completely puzzled as to why he was targeted by such a powerful guy like Lucifer. He had his own ideas, but he hadn't had time to put them into practice yet, and he hid them well in front of outsiders, so he was puzzled. But Ernest was also a very decisive person, since he couldn't figure it out, and it seemed that Lucifer would not let him go. He would not sit and wait for death. Call the dead Rakshasa here for me, Ernest thought for a while and said to his subordinates. As the hope of the Royal Fist Temple, Ernest was not only the top in the Royal Fist Temple, but also received strong support from the Royal Fist Temple. He was not so fat originally, but the Royal Fist Temple prohibited meat eating. After he came out, he fell in love with meat and ate meat crazily, causing his body to be severely deformed. He could only leave most of the things that needed to be done to the 4 Rakshasa ghosts. Anyway, the 4 of them were the most powerful masters of the Royal Fist Temple. The 4 of them were as powerful as 4 Imperial tools. In this case, no matter how powerful Lucifer is, he can't possibly deal with the master of the Royal Fist Temple who is more proficient in killing than the Imperial weapon user, right? But after thinking it over, Ernest felt that it was still not reliable enough, so he decided to contact the Southern aliens. He could provide all the information about General Lucifer, including where he would land, etc. After all, General Lucifer couldn't just kill him right away, right? Chapter 16. Destroy. Unfortunately, Ernest didn't know that Lucifer really didn't plan to take him to attack the Southern aliens. He threw him out on the road and burned him to ashes with his thermal vision. He was not interested in spending too much time with Ernest. He was busy. The minister looked a little unwilling to die. He never expected Lucifer to kill him right away. The two had just flown out of the Imperial capital. However, before Lucifer set off, he had said that he would directly confront the army of the Southern aliens, and the landing point was where the Southern aliens were now entrenched. Ernest had already sent this out, so he cursed Lucifer to die there before he went to hell. That was an army of hundreds of thousands. Even if it was an Imperial weapon, he didn't dare to think that he could deal with 100,000 well-trained regular troops. The various coordinations between the armies, as well as the tactics and the covering flames formed by long-range muskets and bows, were enough to force anyone into a desperate situation. The best way is to choose a point to break out. Although the 100,000-man army is large in number, it cannot take care of the entire town. Even if an encirclement is formed, there is a way to break out. How many people have you mobilized? Is it enough to surround the entire town? After receiving the news from the insider, Ernest, the Southern aliens looked at the leader of the Western aliens. Don't worry, we have mobilized 100,000 troops. This is the vanguard, and the follow-up troops are on their way. However, it will take some time to surround the town. However, do we need so many troops to deal with just one person? Of course, we don't need so many troops to deal with one person, even if he is an Imperial weapon user. It's just that we can't join forces to kill one person. Since Lucifer is so stupid that he wants to kill us alone, let's kill him and take the opportunity to plunder the Empire. Yes, this can also make up for the losses we have suffered from coming so far. What a dazzling man that makes people can't help but admire. It's a pity that I wanted to fight him on the battlefield. But in order to avenge many allies, even if I am said to be despicable, I have to kill this legendary general here. The 4 Rakshasa ghosts watched silently from the side. They were people representing Ernest, but Ernest said that they didn't need to participate in these things. They just needed to help when the foreigners killed Lucifer and ensure that the general was killed here. At this moment, there was a noise outside. What's going on? Everyone present was a person of status, so they naturally didn't want to see their men making trouble, so as not to lose face. A man fell from the sky and attacked the military camp. The adjutant hurried in to report, but he felt it was a bit far-fetched. What? Isn't it that General Lucifer? Everyone was shocked and then walked out and saw a man walking forward leisurely, and the soldiers who rushed up had been killed by him. It's him, Lucifer. The 4 Rakshasa ghosts had naturally seen what Lucifer looked like, so they said, "Is he crazy? He wants to rely on his own strength to attack hundreds of thousands of troops." The leaders of the southern ethnic groups were very puzzled. Even if they claimed to be brave, they would not do such a thing to seek death. There was only one opponent, and only a dozen people could attack Lucifer at one time. The rest of the soldiers could only watch from the outside and then quickly fill in after their companions died. It felt like queuing up to die. Although there were still a large number of companions around, no one dared to guarantee whether they would be the next to die. But soon they changed their strategy, squatting in rows, pulling up their shields, and forming a shield wall in front of the archers. At the same time, the archers also raised their bows and shot. The hundreds of thousands of troops were indeed astonishing in number, and the entire town was surrounded and blocked. But when these hundreds of thousands of troops really started fighting, only a dozen soldiers could fight Lucifer in the first time. As for the archers, in such a crowded situation, random shooting would kill a large number of their own people. But soon, they didn't need to worry about this problem because Lucifer's eyes turned red and his hot eyes swept through thousands of people in an instant, and the shield wall was easily split in two, along with the soldiers and archers behind. What a joke! Everyone was stunned when they saw this scene, and Lucifer hadn't stopped yet. Wherever the dazzling red light passed, no matter who it was, it would be split in two. Death swept the entire battlefield at this moment. 1, 2, countless bodies were pierced and lifted high, the burning blood mixed with the sound of burning and desperate shouts. No matter how they escaped, no matter where they fled or how they tried to resist, they could not escape the result of being pierced through the whole body by the scarlet light. Everything it was like a fate that had been written down, so cruel and desperate. Hundreds of thousands of troops were wiped out in the blink of an eye. Lucifer did not kill them all, but left a few witnesses, otherwise how could he intimidate others? Even if you show off, You need an audience." Then Lucifer left. After the war was publicized by the survivors, everyone kept their distance from the great General Lucifer. The main reason was that Ernest died for unknown reasons. Lucifer said he died from a stray arrow. As for whether it was true or not, could the great general lie? Then there was the body of the super dangerous species Tyran brought back by Lucifer. This thing had evolved to the point where it could make Lucifer feel pain. Even if it was not as good as the legendary super dangerous species, it was probably almost the same, right? The main reason was that Lucifer had never seen the Crosstail and the Ice Phoenix, so he didn't know how strong the legendary super dangerous species were. Just think about it. The Imperial 2000 changes Crosstail alone. That boundary break line can withstand the cutting of space, and that was just a hair on the Crosstail, not to mention the Crosstail itself. Conservatively speaking, it might not be the kind that even the Yama sword could not break through. The premise is that the spatial strength of this world is similar to that of the Devil May Cry world. Then the blood of the Ice Phoenix can create a super powerful person like Esdeath who can freeze the movement of molecules and create the effect of time stopping. The reason why Esdeath can do this is not only because she is strong enough, but also because of the blood of the Ice Phoenix. If it is said that the original Ice Phoenix cannot freeze the movement of molecules, Lucifer feels that it is unlikely. Chapter 17 About to leave. Lucifer planned to use this super dangerous tyrant to create a new powerful Tegu because he was already planning to leave. After killing 99 super dangerous tyrants, it will probably be difficult to continue upgrading. It's time to go to the next world. So before leaving, Lucifer naturally had to leave enough reliable manpower and power to maintain order. It seemed that he could not take others with him through time. But you can still come back if you want. Of course Lucifer has to come back to see him all the time. After all, his little wife Esdeath is still here. As for Chitomi and Leonai, although they are also very beautiful, Lucifer is not very interested. He is a very rare person who may only like 1 or 2 girls in an anime or manga, especially a harem series. I don't have the thoughts and desires to have everything. Back to the topic, Tyrant, the super dangerous species killed by Lucifer, could make a lot of armor-type Imperial gears. The first Emperor did not consider a super dangerous species to create a large number of duplicate Imperial gears for the sake of the diversity of the Imperial gears. Later, because the technology was lost, even if later emperors wanted to imitate it, the Imperial equipment they produced were far inferior to the Imperial equipment of the first emperor. Therefore, these Imperial equipment were jokingly called official equipment by those emperors. Lucifer did not have this problem. The learning ability of his super brain began to show. His clairvoyance and supervision also allowed him to see the microscopic structure of the Tegu. The target was naturally the super dangerous Tyrant's Tegu that was haunted by evil spirits. Equipped. Then Lucifer achieved a perfect replica and used the materials of the super dangerous Tyrant to create hundreds of armor-type Tegu. These armor-type Tegu have 3 abilities: heavy armor, flying, and energy attack. They were all forced to evolve by Lucifer, compared with the original armor-type Tegu that only has the ability of invisibility, such as the evil ghost. Much more powerful. And the initial bonus value is very high, which means that they are not easily stimulated to evolve. In the comics, Tesmi turned into a Thailander because the stimulation of evolution was too intense. Lucifer didn't want to see 100 tyrants who could speak human language when he came back. Lucifer gave these 100 armor-type Imperial tools to Esdeath, and went to kill Ernest's son Sheila. He would never forget this one. After all, the mother and daughter, it was a bit miserable, so Lucifer just broke Sheila's limbs, used blood to attract the wolves, and threw him into the wolves to be eaten. As a samurai of the Imperial Fist Temple, Sheila's vitality was tenacious and relatively durable. She persisted for a full hour before she was bitten to death by a pack of wolves, which was probably worse than Ling Kai, who was cut to pieces by 1,000 cuts. As for his Imperial equipment, it is not in his hands yet. Only after Ernest took over the power did he have the ability to choose the Imperial equipment in the Imperial equipment library at will. After dealing with the people who might harm the Empire, Lucifer thought for a moment. The remaining princes didn't seem to be good birds. None of them were capable or wise. They were all ambitious and not like their father at all. Since he might have to leave, Lucifer took Esdeath with him to find Tyran, so that he could spend more time with her during the last period. After all, he was in love, and Lucifer didn't know what he meant to Tyran. Is it because Sid is greedy or likes her, but he is more transparent, and it seems that he can gradually feel what Esdeath is thinking and what he likes, and there seems to be a lot of tacit understanding between the two. In fact, he didn't really want to leave so soon. It was no joke that Wenwen Township was the tomb of heroes. However, the problem is that Esdeath is not him. She will age. Lucifer plans to go to other worlds to become stronger and see if he can find something that allows Esdeath to live forever. He doesn't know if it counts love, but he definitely doesn't want to lose her. Then Lucifer and Esdeath found a super dangerous Tyran that came out of the volcano. Rolling lava flowed down from it. The high temperature that could make life extinct seemed to be just an ordinary flow of water. For the super dangerous species, Tyran can't do any damage. It can actually live in volcanic magma. Esdeath was very surprised. She had already heard Lucifer talk about the horror of the super dangerous Tyran, but she still found that the horror of this creature was beyond imagination. Is this even a living thing? Lucifer is very calm. He himself is the most unscientific thing. Naturally, he will not think that the super dangerous Tyrant is unscientific. Anyway, it can't beat Lucifer. Let me try it. Esdeath jumped down, and Lucifer did not stop him. He also had the idea of making Esdeath stronger than the original plot. Heaven hinders the earthquake star. Esdeath snapped her fingers, and a huge meteorite appeared out of nowhere. It was a huge ice block formed by the condensation of a large amount of water. The acceleration of falling from a high altitude and its own weight meant that there were not many people in this world who could withstand this move. The super dangerous Tyrant felt a fatal threat. It raised its head, and its red body surface began to ripple like waves. Then it spit out a pillar of fire from its mouth, which directly hit the huge piece of ice block, and showed amazing thermal melting ability. The thick ice block was quickly melted into a big hole by the fire pillar. Boom! The ice cubes that hit the ground caused a huge earthquake, and ice shards flew everywhere. Giant god soldier. Esdeath then used the moves Lucifer taught her, and a huge frost giant appeared. Esdeath sat on the throne above the dark blue giant. Lucifer always felt that the ice storm general created by Esdeath in the original plot was a bit wasteful and redundant. Creating so many ice knights and then micromanipulating them to fight against people shows how terrible Esdeath's control is. In this case, why not make a Gundam? The impact of the behemoth on morale is beyond imagination. Humans are born with giant phobia. If it is an ice knight, they may still have the idea of resisting. If it is a giant soldier, there may not be many people who want to resist. The giant soldier of Obelisk in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is restored one by one. After the super dangerous species Tyran broke the sky-blocking star and came out, it hit its face with a god fist smash. This punch was so powerful that the super dangerous species Tyran was knocked out and flew nearly 1,000 meters before falling to the ground. Then Esdeath showed her extraordinary control. After all, she was a strong person who could immediately replace one of her hands with ice after it was cut off, and she was flexible and unhindered. Chapter 18 Must Kill. The giant god moved freely, quickly ran to the super dangerous Tyrant, and then started to beat her up. So why does this huge driving machine have feet? Lucifer pondered for a while, and the super dangerous Tyrant immediately fought back. It released high-temperature heat all over its body, and the temperature around it quickly rose to 1,000 degrees. The surface of the giant god melted, but Esdeath smiled contemptuously, and the giant god immediately recovered as before, and there was an extra big sword in his hand. Well, this was Esdeath's own performance. The ice giant sword chopped on the super dangerous tyrant. Esdeath finally controlled the blade of the ice giant sword to a very thin degree, so it became extremely sharp and cut the super dangerous tyrant's body. The high-temperature blood gushed out, and the ice giant sword was caused by the high-temperature blood-like magma to produce a large amount of water vapor. At the same time, the rapidly cooled blood showed a solidified state similar to stone, which looked no different from magma. Esdeath frowned. She was a little surprised that the ice giant sword failed to cut the super dangerous species tyrant in half with one sword. You know, she learned from Lucifer that the smaller the contact area, the greater the pressure. The blade of the ice giant sword is almost as thin as the blade of a sword that is many times smaller in size. In this case, it should be enough to cut the super dangerous species tyrant in half with one sword. But now it seems that no bones have been cut. Esdeath's control over ice is actually far beyond Lucifer's imagination. Her ice is actually an extension of her perception. She has no pain, but she has a sense of touch, so she can control all the ice so finely. Seeing the super dangerous species tyrant who has become active again, Esdeath sneered. Then use that trick. The cold air is everywhere. Esdeath is wrapped in sub-zero temperatures, and the temperature is still dropping endlessly. With Obelisk's god warrior as the center, everything around it froze. Trees, mountains, rivers, and even the earth were all frozen solid. Ice and snow condensed all over the sky, and icicles grew on the ground, densely packed like an iceberg-shaped forest. Obelisk's god warrior's eyes slowly lit up. A ball of cold air condensed in his mouth. The surrounding space was slightly swaying, and gorgeous ice blue light emerged from all sides, like a bee returning to its nest, condensing and expanding little by little. Absolute freezing air. Esdeath's move was certainly not learned from Steel Gararuman, but taught to her by Lucifer. It was the absolute freezing air that brought complete murderous intent to the enemy. If used in an icy and snowy environment, it could even absorb the surrounding cold, thus making the icy and snowy environment warm like spring. The absolute freezing air containing such terrifying cold air was also very terrifying in its lethality. In simple terms, it was actually a change of another big move Ice Mist General in the comics later, and it became absolute freezing air. This is enough to freeze the movement of molecules and cause spatial confinement. It looks like a straight-line attack, but in fact it has already affected a wide area of space. No matter how fast the enemy is, he can't escape. According to Lucifer's idea, when Esdeath can use the Mahabothmo plus absolute freezing gas that has been developed, this move will be a must-kill move. Mahabothmo freezes time, making the enemy unable to think, move, or resist, and then the absolute freezing gas freezes all life, as if triggering an instant death effect. The ice blue light in the mouth of the giant god soldier of Obelisk suddenly dimmed, and the biting coldness was compressed to the critical point. The next moment it suddenly burst out, stirring up a violent airflow and forming a terrifying shock wave. A dazzling beam of light, in the sound of sonic booms rubbing against the air, swept all directions and burst down. The shock wave that turned into a beam of light cut through layers of space, freezing the ripples along the way, and time seemed to slow down. Although the speed of the light column was extremely fast, it gave people an uncoordinated illusion of slowness. The senses deceived the brain again. The howling wind swept across the sky and the earth, making a shrill roar. Wherever the extremely cold wind passed, everything that blocked it would be frozen forever. The clouds were frozen, the wind stopped, everything on the earth was frozen, even the moonlight stopped falling. They were covered with a layer of ice blue, and then covered with ice, and all were frozen. In the blink of an eye, the entire forest and volcano were frozen solid. The big trees that were originally full of vitality all died in an instant and turned into ice sculptures. The moisture in the air condensed rapidly due to the sharp drop in temperature. and it formed ice slag and fell from the air, and ice and snow slowly floated. The frozen world was covered with white snow. The cold wind rolled up snowflakes and blew off the icicles on the super dangerous species Tyran, falling on the loose snow in silence. Super dangerous species Tyran maintained her original posture. Her pupils dilated and her ferocious face still had a trace of fear, and she did not move at all. The fiery red figure was now dim, wearing a white and clear ice coat, full of thin and sharp ice hangings. The camera zoomed out, and at this moment, super dangerous species Tyran seemed like a lifelike ice sculpture, with smooth lines, and under the moonlight, it was full of shocking beauty. All vitality of super dangerous species Tyran has been completely killed. Even if it is used to make an Imperial tool, it is no longer a living cell. Lucifer said with emotion that adaptive evolution also has a limit. In the original plot comics, Tatsumi only adapted to the coldness of frozen time and space after experiencing Mahabhatmo for the third time. In terms of sheer lethality, the absolute freezing gas far exceeds that of Mahabhatmo. It is normal for the super dangerous species Tyran to be killed without any resistance. Lucifer did not blame Esdeath for stealing his experience points. He could see that Esdeath actually did it on purpose. This woman wanted to use this method to delay Lucifer's departure. After feeling that Esdeath cared about him, Lucifer naturally would not blame her. A woman caring about you means that she loves you very much. What else can Lucifer do? He can only satisfy Esdeath. Anyway, in this world, even super dangerous species like Tyrant, who are greedy, always preying, and hungry, have not destroyed the ecological balance and food chain. There should be a lot of super dangerous species Tyrant. At most, it will be a little troublesome to find them, and by the way, it can be regarded as a global honeymoon trip with Esdeath. Chapter 19, Making Trouble. New York. Lucifer stayed in the world of Red Eyes for a full year before leaving. This year, most of the time was spent accompanying Esdeath, and the rest was chasing the super dangerous Tyrant. However, the super dangerous Tyrant became increasingly difficult to find later on, and Lucifer almost thought that he had already extinct. Fortunately, he found him in the end, and Lucifer learned to improve the quality before killing, so the number needed was not as outrageous as 99. After upgrading to level 6, Lucifer went to find Crosstail and Ice Phoenix, planning to look at the quality of these two legendary super dangerous species. Then, Crosstail is very strong, and so is the Ice Phoenix. Lucifer seriously injured the Ice Phoenix, but he couldn't kill it, and the same goes for Crosstail. Lucifer had no choice but to leave in the end. When he comes back, these two legendary super dangerous species will be dead. I didn't expect to come to Marvel. It looks like the movie version of Marvel. Lucifer thought for a while and was somewhat satisfied. Marvel has no shortage of powerful monsters, such as the most powerful Thanos. The most powerful monster in the current movie version should be Thanos, and Hela, the goddess of death, is still far behind. The reason why I know this is Marvel is mainly because of the Captain America Museum and Tony Stark's big face. At this time, Tony Stark had not yet become Iron Man, and it had been a long time since he disappeared. Tony Stark's Jericho missile hasn't been developed yet, and it's too early to travel through time. However, it seems that it can cause trouble. As a result, Lucifer became the illegitimate son of the chairman of a joint mining company in Bolivia. However, the chairman of the mining company had passed away. The children who inherited his inheritance only knew that their father had more than 10 illegitimate children outside, and they took away a large amount of family property, and have not seen all illegitimate children. In addition, Lucifer also had an uncle. Because the whole family died, the huge inheritance fell on Lucifer. The reason why Lucifer did not become an American citizen was because the inheritance tax in the United States was too high, so he chose countries with no inheritance tax. In this way, Lucifer, a guy who may seem extremely lucky to outsiders, inherited the inheritance of 4 relatives and established a company of his own. Like Stark Industries, this company also focuses on new energy and military. weapons production, but it did not attract much attention. Even though Lucifer has received 4 huge inheritances, they may not even be as large as Hammer Industries. Umbrella purchased a building in New York City to serve as its headquarters. Everything was ready. Lucifer sent invitations to all countries, especially the 5 gangsters. If it is Stark Industries, there is actually no need to be so troublesome. But although Lucifer's company is headquartered in America's New York, his nationality is not American, but the nationality of Bolivia and several other countries. So his customers are not limited to America. In order to prevent the little-known Umbrella Company from attracting attention, Lucifer also included a short video in the invitation. Then representatives from various countries arrived. The Umbrella Company has gathered countless celebrities and big shots as well as military and defense representatives from various countries. However, Lucifer, the protagonist, has yet to be seen. His secretary Misty, who asked about him, was told that when the exhibition opened, Lucifer would be there. Appear. I didn't know that Lucifer had such a beautiful female secretary by his side. Tony Stark is also here. He is also interested in Lucifer's Crossera weapons. More importantly, he calls himself the smartest man in the world. He doesn't think the so-called Crossera weapons can be very powerful. In this regard, Tony Stark would never admit defeat. Mr. Stark, welcome to our exhibition, Misty said politely. She was almost too busy to entertain representatives from various countries and a large number of big shots who could not afford to offend. However, Lucifer just said that he would give you a salary increase and then left himself alone at the scene. Now Misty doesn't even know what Lucifer's Crossera weapon is, but she only knows that in such a big battle, if Lucifer can't come up with something powerful, the Umbrella Company will suffer. I wonder if I can invite you to dinner after this is over. Tony has fallen in love with Misty and is planning to have a one-night stand. Sorry, Mr. Stark, I have to go get the others. Misty smiled apologetically and then left. Although Tony Stark is also very handsome and charming, compared to his own boss who is more charming and handsome, he is a complete hit in every aspect. Just as everyone was taking their seats and waiting for the opening of the exhibition, all the surrounding lights suddenly went out. Although it was sudden, everyone present had seen big scenes before, so they didn't panic. At this moment, a light of fire flew from the distance missile. The guests started to panic, and then when the fire came closer, the searchlights turned on, all shining on the fire. Everyone saw it. It was a flying Iron Man. Iron Man made a superhero landing and landed on the exhibition platform. No way. The appearance of Iron Man caused a sensation, and even Tony Stark showed an expression of disbelief. Most people couldn't help but stand up. Then I saw the Iron Man on the stage beginning to be decomposed by the machinery extending from the ground, revealing Lucifer inside. Everyone, welcome to the Umbrella exhibition. I am Lucifer from Umbrella. Lucifer smiled and said, tall and handsome, full of masculine charm, he attracted the favor of many women, but more people were immersed in the shock of the Iron Man. Misty was the same. She didn't expect that her boss had hidden this epoch-making weapon from her. It was really epoch-making. I don't think you are interested in the annoying introduction, so let's get straight to the point. That's right, the Iron Man you just saw is the content of this exhibition. It is Umbrella's epoch-making weapon. It will rewrite the weapon system of the entire century. It is flexible, fast, powerful, and accurate. It is a flying tank and a mobile fighter group. This is a comprehensive innovation in the military field of the world. Matchlock guns, flintlock guns, rifles, and automatic rifles. What is the difference between them? They are just weapons that use the kinetic energy generated by the explosion of gunpowder to eject bullets. Cloth armor, leather deck armor, and now bulletproof vests. What is the difference between them? Although the materials are constantly changing, they are just simple protective gear. All of them are based on backward ideas and backward products, and all of them should be eliminated. Chapter 20 Super Hacker. None of these big keyballs and big families are easy to mess with, so the umbrella company is naturally labeled as not easy to mess with. The young Lucifer has become a new dignitary, but this alone is naturally not enough. Lucifer intends to try to advance the plot, such as quickly getting those monsters out, such as Abomination, Lizardman, Venom, Riot, Ultron if possible. He can go to the arena of Gaotianzan to play in the future. So, just like in the world of Akame no Mikoto, he first got himself an identity that can be used at his convenience and the most important position. Even if this identity is only useful in the United States is already a very powerful country. At least there are only 2 major countries in the world that can say no to him, and other countries of course they will listen to him. After Lucifer dealt with the 3 powerful families, everything was ready, including some biological researchers, human genetic engineering doctors, etc. that had never appeared in the original plot, and even heard that there were technicians poached from Stark Industries. If I have someone kidnap Tony Stark and throw him to Afghanistan right now, can I give birth to an Iron Man? Lucifer shook the red wine glass, which contained the long-lost iced cola, and the ice cubes hit the wall of the glass, making a crisp and pleasant sound. He didn't like drinking. Lucifer could accept tea, coffee, and beverages, but he had no interest in wine. It was not good to drink, and he felt very uncomfortable when drunk. He was not interested in cigarettes either, mainly because Lucifer could not feel the energetic feeling after smoking. He had no feeling at all, so he was naturally not interested. However, Lucifer still thought of a good idea. He could get ahead of Tony Stark and create the world's first Iron Man. Maybe after being stimulated by him, Tony Stark would have an inspiration. Then he would throw him to Afghanistan and create an Iron Man in advance. After all, Tony Stark was unprecedentedly strong in terms of the ability to attract hatred. He became famous and a hero, which attracted a large number of villains to jump out. However, Tony Stark's iron armor is not something that can be made just by wanting to. The iron armor has an artificial intelligence operating system, a new energy arc reactor, Tony Stark's special high-strength alloy, and a carefully built weapon system. These things are indispensable. For example, power technology. Unlike traditional armor that completely relies on the wearer's own physical support, the Iron Man series armor developed by Tony Stark is classified as power armor. It is an exoskeleton device that uses a computer to capture the owner's joint movements and then outputs energy from an external power source. Therefore, in operation, it not only consumes very little physical strength of the owner, but also allows the owner to have extraordinary strength. The problem is that high energy consumption is the biggest problem that power armor has to overcome, and stable and huge energy output is the core of power armor. This requires the use of a miniaturized arc reactor, which can output billions of joules per second, which is a very terrible energy. The strongest version of the arc reactor invented by Tony can provide more than 10 billion joules of plasma energy per second. The annual power generation is 87.6 billion kWh, which is equivalent to the Three Gorges Dam. It can be said that it is a toy for the rich. It integrates all kinds of high-tech of Tony Stark, especially the most critical arc micronuclear reactor. This thing is the most valuable part of the entire Iron Man suit. The second is the artificial intelligence Jarvis. Without this artificial intelligence assistance, Tony Stark can't control the Iron Man suit so flexibly. The third is the completely unscientific shock absorption system, which can make Tony Stark, an ordinary person who has not been strengthened, fall from the air and remain unscathed. This shock absorption system alone is beyond imagination. The cost of billions of dollars is just Tony Stark's own cheapness. If it really needs to be produced from scratch, the cost of an Iron Man suit is hundreds of billions of dollars. However, Lucifer does not have these troubles. The super brain of Kryptonians is very exaggerated. It can allow Kryptonians to directly process the information obtained by supervision and superhearing. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is the strongest brain. Lucifer plans to challenge himself and DIY an Iron Man suit from scratch. As a man who doesn't have the idea that iron is the romance of men, Lucifer is not very clear about how strong a level 6 Kryptonian is, but using it in learning makes Lucifer feel why he didn't have such a brain back then. Otherwise, it wouldn't be his turn to travel through time now. All kinds of information and scientific knowledge related to the Iron Man suit that Lucifer learned were all put into Lucifer's brain in one day. The biggest difference between the human brain and the computer is that the computer can only calculate and process information, while the human brain has the ability to combine and process information in a wonderful way, such as inspiration. Lucifer knows that Marvel has a lot of black technology, and it seems that the scientific and technological theories in this world are different from those in the real world, but who cares? One world has one scientific and technological theory, and Superman has installed the information of tens of thousands of civilizations in his brain without any problems, not to mention that Lucifer's information is only limited to the Earth in each world. Then Lucifer also used the hacking skills he learned to fight with others online, and learned their hacking methods by the way. After becoming famous in a very short time, the Tide organization came to him, but unfortunately they were quickly defeated by Lucifer, and then Lucifer's target Sky appeared. Don't get me wrong, Lucifer has no interest in any woman in the Marvel world, mainly because they are too that. Isn't it better for me to hug the second dimension? He just wants to learn Sky's unreasonable hacking skills, and then hack into Jarvis, copy the core data of this artificial intelligence, and then he can create his own artificial intelligence. As for whether Sky can do it, it's a joke. A super hacker who can hack into the shield firewall with a simple notebook. Sky's hacking skills have reached the I think level, a mere artificial intelligence. What is it? Then Lucifer found that it was really hard to learn Sky's magic hacking skills. After the other side felt that Lucifer had made rapid progress, they cut off like lightning, and Lucifer couldn't find it no matter how hard he tried. Damn it, this is just too much for me. Lucifer couldn't believe it. Alright legends, that's it for today. If you're ready for the next chapter, smash that like button and flood the comments right now. Remember, we've got 3 days to prove this story needs to continue. Subscribe so you don't miss the drop, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.